really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is impermanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and D-gentlemen all over the world. We are coming to you live tonight on a beautiful Friday evening to talk about a book that made us all very sad. That is Poor Richard's Retirement by Aaron Clarey. I thought that this book would be a nice little refresher. It's not too long. I think it only ended up being about like 2 hours and like 5 minutes on Audible, and that's including all the appendices. But in that short amount of time, it talked about retirement and, honestly, the bleak outcome that is facing a lot of us in America today. So we're here tonight to talk about how we can fix that, how to get around it, and then also where if crypto does fit into this picture or if it solves any problems. I was tempted to put the tagline of Pulse Chain solves this as the go-to, but I'm not sure if it will. We are joined tonight by our lovely cast and the usual suspects. First off, we got my co-host, Nate McGettit. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, doing all right. I see, the irony is that he's very straight to the point in this book, right? And I'm like, I like that, you know? So for me, I actually listened to it twice in a row. Immediately after being done, I'm like, I'm going to do that again.
Very nice. I think another one of our panel members had a slightly different experience on the listening time, but I'll let him tell you about that when we get there. With that said, we got Sam, the bachelor in the bungalow. How you doing, my man?
I am doing great. I have a new bungalow here, and I'm a bachelor, so just living it up. I love this book, so I'm excited to get into it.
Excellent. I was gonna say, if you can teach people how to build a bungalow like that, I think we'll all be doing pretty all right. Although I don't know how you feel about the whole McMansion argument that they make in the book, but we'll ask you about that when we get there. Speaking of a Stevenson, we have two Stevensons. Will, how's it going, man?
Well, aloha, amigos. I am the one who had a little bit of a different opinion on this book. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm like the networking guy for the DGen Roundtable. I go around organizing meetups and finding new people and doing cool, fun things like that. And also making telegrams and dropping links in the chat. That's the other thing that I do. But yeah, bro, it's a good book. It's got good foundational information in it. And I also listened to it twice. Not in a row. I actually shut it off the first time because I was a little bit intoxicated, and it was just, I was listening to it and I was just getting super bummed out, and I was like, God damn. For those of you who don't know who Aaron Clarey is, Aaron Clarey is a fantastic libertarian economist guy who has a little bit of a what's a good word to describe his outlook? He's just like, he's exasperated all the time.
Exasperated is probably a good word for it.
He's a curmudgeon.
Yeah, but you
Curmudgeon
can
is also
totally
good
like, yes, you can totally tell that through the writing in this book. He's just like the entire time he's going on and on about like all these retirement problems and all these challenges that people face because of all the fuck ups that have happened in the economic world that came before us and everything. So anyways, it's a good book. It's got good information. It gives a lot of good background and everything on what people should focus on in the world of retirement and just essentially securing your financial sovereignty throughout your entire life. And like there's a good focus on the end half of that, but we'll get into it a little bit more. I'm not only the only double family person here. We've also got Mrs. Producer, Mrs. McGettit. How are you doing? What's going on, ma'am?
Hello, I'm doing all right. Not the best. When you have a 4-year-old who goes to preschool, you get sick like every other week. It's just what I'm finding out. It sucks. So yeah, he brought something home again. Luckily, this one's mild. I'm not going to lose my voice for 3 months, I don't think. I hope. I very much hope. But I'm just coming into the last end of the week from that. So, not exactly feeling the best. Mostly it's over with, but my voice is still a little hoarse, as you can hear. But other than that, I am here.
Excellent. Well, thank you for showing up regardless. We hope that you feel better and that this one will not take 3 months to recover from. That was a rough one. I remember
That's
you
tough.
were hurting for a while.
And for the book, I think exasperated is a very good word for this individual human who I have heard much about, but not seen too much myself personally. He really lays it out in this book. Like if you have some disillusions about the world we're living in and how things are going, like this will clear you right up. Yeah. So go into it with that in mind. It may be a nice, short, light, book, but it is heavy in content in that sense. So, yeah.
It really is. And I got to say, one of the things that I like about Aaron Clarey is that he brings the receipts, and he brought the receipts for this one for sure. I will say, I think I must have a different outlook on Aaron Clarey because I think I've only ever listened to him at minimum at 1.5 times speed. So the pacing might just sound a little more chipper to me than everyone else, but whatever.
Would you say that Aaron Clarey is something like maybe the neti pot of the retirement sphere?
Maybe. I will fully admit I don't know what that means.
Is it
that
That is an old Jesus showing your age there.
Does that
Sam.
date me? It's where you have a salty, warm solution in a pot and you tilt your head over and rinses your face out.
Oh.
Yep. That's
That
a
would
polite
be
way
accurate.
of describing it. That's probably where you should leave it.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want fun words of the day, you can follow either one of these two Stevenson brothers, and I think one of them posts at least a new word of the day every other day or something. So Instagram, check them out. I know Will is more than happy to spam a link in the chat.
Oh, yes. I think
that's
you are
that's the Will.
referring to the Don Hewley's word of the day.
There it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, make sure you go follow Don Hewley on Instagram. Big shout out to Don Hewley. He's teaching me a lot of things on how to make good words. Don
Fantastic.
Hewley.
All right. We are going to do quick shout outs to the chat. We love seeing all you guys show up for this, and we're very happy to talk about this book. And more importantly, we're happy to hang out with you guys. So please, if you have any questions, comments, throw them in the chat during the stream. We will try to cover as many as we possibly can. With that said, I'm going to start saying good evening to Mr. Ted Nelson. He says, evening, everyone. After that, we have Moondog, Love and Light. Y'all.
Hell
really
yeah,
making me work for that
Moondog.
one, but I appreciate it. Thanks for showing up, brother. Glad to have you here.
Good
After that, we
shit.
got Jason Smith, gentlemen. There. And then we got Paul Sachs with a hola something heads. Yep. Right back at you, brother. Glad to have you. And then last but not least, we got an old faithful here. We got Centurion 54X. Good afternoon, D-Gens. Good afternoon to you, too. I think it's about 6 o'clock my time, so hopefully you guys have a little more daylight than I have, but that's what I got. All right, with that said, we are going to jump into it. I'm going to do the rundown of the game plan for tonight's stream, and then we're going to get right into topics. And then along the way, we are going to have some panel discussion regarding a few questions that I highlighted. So, Mrs. Producer, if you would do me the honors, I believe I am sharing as we speak. Beautiful. Alrighty, you can check out my awesome PowerPoint skills today. So, obviously, we're talking about Poor Richard's Retirement by Aaron Clarey. This is a book focusing on retirement and what it looks like for the average American. So, tonight we're going to be talking about the diagnosis for the situation when it comes to just economics and finance and the retirement situation for Americans. Panel question I want these guys to think about before we get there is I want them to describe what they think society's definition of retirement is and what is your view of retirement. Everybody in the chat, go ahead and give me an answer as well. I want to hear what the general consensus of the group is. So remember, it's what is society told you is retirement, and then what is retirement for you and your family. Alrighty, after that, we're going to talk about 2017 versus 2024. That is the difference between today and when this book was published. So it's even more different from when it was written. So the data is changed a little bit, but not too much. I did some hand calcs there, and we'll cover that. After that, we got Aaron Clarey's prescriptions for fixing the finance. This book kind of falls into 3 categories. We have the diagnosis, the prescription here, and then the last one is talking about the human factor, which is one of the things he talks about as a good reason to keep living. And then after that, we're going to see if crypto fits into this and his math. He is a bit of a proponent for crypto as a rainy day fund, but as far as investments go, I think we might have a different take than he does. So we'll see if we can tweak some numbers here and there. Some background information. This man sometimes goes by Cappy. This was his appearance on the Michael Sartain podcast. He had a good costume, so I figured I'd grab it. He is an economist and known minimalist, libertarian, and avid adventurist, motorcycle rider. You name it, he does it all. His firm that he runs is called Asshole Consulting. He takes personal requests and makes videos for people talking about topics. This book in particular, I mentioned earlier, was published in May of 2017. It is a play on Benjamin Franklin's Poor Richard's Almanac. So that's a little fun fact there for you. The cover is what is the rip. Alrighty, so here we go. I want to throw this to my panel before we get started talking about retirement here. So for you guys, what is the general idea that society tells you retirement is? So Nate, let's start off with you.
So society thinks, at least what I've been hearing, is that there's actually a couple of different things. For whatever weird reason, I keep hearing people saying you need at least $10 million in the bank to retire. And what that makes me think is why. But then I realize, because retirement is you put it into like some sort of IRA or like 401k or something like that. And you need up to like $10 million to be able to receive enough to live a very comfortable life. And I'm like, holy crap. How comfortable are you guys talking if it's 10 million, right? The other one is it's something that you want to place like with a business or whatever, wherever you're working, you want to place it into like a 401k, you know, they as much as you put in, they'll put in as well. And then at the end, when you hit old age, basically, then you can just sit there and live off of that. And so to kind of sum it up a little bit, there's two things. It's either you are rich, and so therefore you're retired and don't have to do anything because you're rich, or you're old and you're technically too old to be able to work anymore. And so then taxes pay for you. And then whatever else you put away.
Makes sense. All right. I want to kick it over to Sam because I know he's a numbers guy. So Sam, what numbers have you heard about conventional retirement? Like what age, how long are you going to live? How much money do you need? Like, I don't know, certain performance of an investment stuff. Like what are the assumed things about retirement that you got for us?
Well, I can't say I've heard a lot personally from people, as I have not existed on this world as long as most of you guys. But I will say that like there's definitely like Nate was saying, there's that like super high limit of like how much money can we just like set aside, and so the interest is giving us this ridiculously comfortable lifestyle. I mean, like that in combination with the consumerism we have, that's just like the way retirement is presented. And of course, like there's always the beer commercials on the beach or wherever, you know, there's always that. But yeah, that's just the way that it comes across to me. You know, I never thought much about it, and I don't think I ever would hear much about it from other people just because I'm a little bit younger. But
fair enough. Tell you what, I'll jump back in here with you. So
Sure.
The stuff that I've heard is that you retire at age 65. That's when Social Security cuts in. You start getting those checks. Previously, they used to have these cool things called pensions that happened if you worked at a company for 20 plus years, and they give you a gold watch on your last day as well. And then outside of that, it's you're pretty much going to live maybe 10, 15 years if you're lucky. And then what you're trying to do with that time is, I don't know, wake up in the morning, play golf with another old guy, go fishing, hang out on the beach somewhere, do some travel if you are physically able to. And then another of the topics that I've heard lately is that what is the point of retirement? The point of retirement is to stop working, which kind of leads me to believe, and something that Aaron picks up in the book, is that people kind of view work as the antithesis of life, as in it's a necessary evil that you do until you no longer are able to do it. And then one of the things that he does talk about in the book is that when you retire, you start to lose some purpose or drive or motivation. Will, do you have any thoughts on purpose and motivation when it comes to retirement?
I do. So I think that there's two different ways that you could end your I almost said end your life. End your career, your career life, right? So some folks are able to find the thing that they like to do with their time that other people also like, that other people are like willing to pay them money for. So like I would say that those people find a purpose. And then other folks, they find something that they can do, right, that is useful that other people will pay them for. So and that's a job. So like there's people that they love pulling teeth, and they would pull teeth and be a dentist for free if they could do that their entire lives and not have to worry about getting paid for it. And those people find their purpose. Just so happens that other people pay them boatloads of money for it. And then there's some people that are like, they like, I go to my job and it's, it's kind of fun, it's whatever, but like I would prefer to be doing something else, right? People that would prefer to be doing something else, they end up retiring from their jobs. People who find a way to monetize the thing that they love, they have a purpose in life. And this book is geared a little bit more towards the people that, and it's most people aren't able to find like a purpose, so to say, like not to just like in the way that I'm currently defining it, right? So we can catch up on the specifics of the words later. But this book is written for people who are going to end their professional career at some point, and they're going to need to like have some sort of cash inflow for the rest of their lives. You see a lot of people like Warren Buffett, like doing what they love to do and earning lots of money for it for like their entire life. And then you see people that it's like, oh, I've spent 40 years as a bricklayer and it's time for me to stop bricklaying, and so then they like retire at some point and they go off and they live out their glory days or whatever. This book is written for those folks. So like, I encourage everyone to try your very best to find your purpose, because so few people are able to do it. And like, I think that, shoot, I don't remember what the question was, but I think that I'm sort of kind of
purpose after retirement. But honestly, you nailed it, brother. I was gonna throw it over to our producer, Mrs. McGettit, because I think she's gonna land the plane for us here before we start going one by one, asking you guys. I want to hear what is your vision for retirement? What do you want to get out of it? So, Mrs. McGettit, what do you have for us?
So for me, this one is really kind of a dumbed down thing. I'm not a big number person when it comes to something like this. For me, the idea that I got through life about what retirement means, it's kind of one of two ways. Either you're screwed and you're never going to retire, or you get lucky, you get to retire and you get to go live in Hawaii or some crazy place, or travel to Florida every winter and avoid the Minnesota snows. So that's pretty much the only idea I've ever really gotten from everything I've experienced. It's like one or the other. And our generation seems to be falling into the former, unfortunately for us.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well said. I'm going to toss it over to Nate McGettit. So, Nate, when you think of retirement, what do you think of? I know this is a topic that we've talked about a few times on DGen Roundtable, and you have a very good concept that I think a lot of people share as well on this one. So, take it away, brother.
Yeah, so in thinking about retirement, right? Number one, retirement to me means you die, okay? So that's number one. Let's just get that out of the way. All right, so the way that I view retirement can be summed up in a single sentence, and that is buying your time back. So it's like, what does that mean, right? Buying your time back. Right now, I am putting a lot of time into a lot of my life force, a lot of my time into something that, I mean, I'm okay with my job, it's nice, pays well, but I don't want to be doing that for the rest of my life, right? The number one thing that I have an issue with is having some person above me saying, hey, do exactly as I say, otherwise your family is not going to be able to live. And me going, okay, sure. I don't like that. My family, their well-being and everything is up to me, and I need to make that happen. So I would prefer to buy my time back, and then what I can do with that time is now go make something. Continue to work, but go make something else, something that I would like to do that not only me, but also my family can enjoy, and overall just prosper.
Love it. Yeah, the buying time back is a concept that we talk about here a lot, which is retirement especially. It's the idea that you have squirreled away and stashed enough money, not just like as pure cash because it's going to depreciate, fun fact, but you use it as an investment vehicle to slowly grow to eventually outgrow your earning potential at a certain point, so that when you retire, you basically have this pile of money to live off of until you, theoretically, the goal, as I think Saul, or in Ocean's 12, says that he wants his last check he ever writes to bounce, aka he wants his bank account to hit 0 when his time left to live also hits 0. So that's the kind of general idea here. I'm going to kick it over to our young gun, Sam. Sam, you've thought about retirement much? What's your plan over there?
I have thought endlessly about finances, money, retirement, goals, all of these things, almost every day, if not every day, because I'm not retired yet. And so you kind of, well, depending on the question, depending on how you're defining retirement, right? So first of all, when I wouldn't even like ever really use the word retirement, because like it does carry that connotation of like, oh, you're done. You're gonna go do nothing, I guess. Your time's ticking now, right? So, I think that Robert Kiyosaki summarized it well when he was describing that everybody has a profession, everybody has a business. When people retire, they ought to stop doing their profession, the thing that's just paying their bills, and they ought to learn what their business in life is. Why are you here? What are you going to create for the world that's going to leave it behind? Like if you're like a woman who wants to have like a big family, and by the time you're older and retiring or whatever of that age, you've got like 2 generations, and it's just like all these people accomplishing wonderful things, and you've got these big family meals, and like that's a wonderful thing. Or if you're this guy who's going to go build a super big successful company, and you're now providing employment and opportunities and wealth to all these other people, and I think that like everybody needs to figure out what that business is, and that is the thing that you should be targeting. Now, if you can get to it before the quote retirement age, then you're already killing it, right? Me personally, like construction's my thing, and if I'm already in the industry doing that, having a good time, it's like I'm never going to retire from that. Like I might change the role that I have in it, but it's me and my opportunity to make the world a better place. So I think we should all be striving for that.
That was an excellent Robert Kiyosaki Rich Dad quote you hit us with there. The profession and the business. I like that a lot. All right. Will, what do you got? What does retirement look like in your mind? What's your goal?
What is my goal? My goal is to never have to retire, meaning that, like I'm just similar to what Sam and Nate were saying, is that you find the thing that you love to do that happens to earn you money, that you don't have to you don't have to give your time to someone else. You're basically just solving other people's problems on your own terms, as opposed to under like the auspices of something akin to slavery, right? That's what I think that real retirement is whether you have to be at something because you're a slave to the necessities of like, I need to eat, I need to pay rent, I need to do this, that, and the other thing, and I don't have the means to do so. Or you're like a free sovereign person who like can make the choice to invest in whatever like endeavor that it is that you're currently doing, with like some sort of cushiony blanket of both like finances and like environmental resources and time and everything. Like when you don't have to work because you're a slave to the necessity, versus when you do, like I think that would be the goal. So like I'm in a position where I have to work, and I enjoy the work that I'm doing very much. Like, don't tell my boss, but I would do this shit for free, right? But it's nice to get money, and I do love money, because then I can go and make degen cryptocurrency plays and do all sorts of cool things. But like like I would like to be able to choose to do this stuff out of desire, rather than like have to do it because it's like, oh snap, I need to like, well, I don't pay rent because I live in a shipping container. So that's pretty nice. But like, I got to buy food and buy gas, and I have my degen plays to make, and all that stuff.
Are we still going to be trading meme coins in the retirement home? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, fucking A right. You bet your ass I'm going to be buying whatever DRT is on the market when I'm in the fucking when I'm in the nursing home. So
degen for life. All right.
Yep.
Beautiful. I like it. I think your answer and Sam's answer there dovetail together very nicely about the profession and the business, which is that you want to keep doing things. You don't need to pay the bills. It stops becoming a necessity thing. And like you said, it's like the purpose and the desire. You want to be there doing the thing regardless. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so what Nate touched on like previously too was super duper on point, where he said like when you retire, that's when you start dying. Like I've read stories about like the old Japanese man who's like 94 and he's still going out and chopping wood for his family because they need like fuel to go through the winter, and that's like his purpose in life. His reason for existing is like, I chop wood. That's what I do. And he's still out there getting after it, like when he's old as dust, you know. And he's like Sam and I's grandfather just turned 93. He's out there on the log splitter, like cranking out freaking cords of wood like all day long. Like I think he's got like 2 or 3 years worth of wood stacked up at his house, and he's just super duper old fashioned traditional and stuff. And
Oh
like
yeah.
you need some sort of reason to exist. And so if you're not able to find like some sort of hobby or some sort of like family member time spending thing, or like some sort of like, I don't know, even if it's just sweeping streets, or I don't know, polishing doorknobs or something, like you need a reason to live. You need a reason to interact with other human beings. And like like when you retire, you stop doing, you know, your slave job, and you get to start doing your fun job or whatever. And the goal is to do that as soon as possible, so that way you can enjoy your golden years. So I'm sorry for
Love
trailing
it.
on there. Go ahead and take us
All
into
good.
the
All good.
next sentence.
I was gonna say, Mrs. Producer, what is retirement to you?
Yeah, for me, it kind of goes back to what I said before. I have never really thought it would be something that I would get to do, if that makes sense. Um, Not so much in a sense of what you guys are talking about, like find something that makes you never, that you never want to quit doing. More in the sense of I'll never have enough money to do that. That's where my brain's kind of been at, mostly because that was my family growing up. None of them got to retire. I just kind of figured it would be the same here, but with the way the world's changing now, who knows? Maybe. I mean, I've got a lot more hope now than I used to.
That's very
That's for
good.
sure.
Hope is always a good thing. You had a good comment earlier when you're talking about the conventional retirement, which is that it sometimes feel like you either work till you die or you get lucky and you move to Hawaii. And it's kind of like this binary of one or the other. I think that's the way that a lot of society feels right now, which is that retirement is not really a thing that they're actively planning for or even are thinking about, because they're just so focused on tackling challenges that come up daily. So
Yeah.
that retirement, that's a lofty goal. You don't think about it, and then when you get there, it's honestly too late to save at that point.
Pretty much,
Alrighty.
yeah. Most people
Yep, sorry.
nowadays have like, no, sorry, I'm real quick. Most people nowadays just basically they have that 401k. They really have no idea what the hell it is, and they just go with it, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's true. They just hope that the 401k match from the company is going to be enough and just send it, but we'll see if it is. Alrighty, we have some good comments I wanted to bring up for this one. So Moondog has a good take on what is a conventional retirement. We see a modern day retirement, as it has been redefined and used colloquially, is a promise coin with built-in rug pool of mentals, valuing all your assets, time, energy, and attention as much as you can. Might be a bit of a cynical take, but I mean, you're not wrong from the conventional standpoint. Yeah, it is a rug pool. It is you hoping that this thing you've paid in for so long will still be there and no one rugs you.
He definitely read the book, that's for sure.
That is for sure as well. All right, and then otherwise, we got Moonpill Rational Optics. He was one of the guys that let us know this is a good book, and he has a great answer. He says, for him, retirement is when he can fire his boss from his life. And again, I think this ties into what everybody has been saying with the buying back your time, having a profession versus a business, doing the things you want to do, whether or not you get paid. It's right there. It's you are the master of your own destiny. You have toiled and slaved away for enough of this dirty, dirty fiat currency that you can ride out to the end of your days and hopefully even leave something nice for the people to follow, whether it's your kids, family, whoever, whatever. Alrighty, with that said, that is enough speculation and talking to the panel. We're going to get into the book. I promise we will cover a lot of it. Aaron brought a lot of numbers, and I'm going to try to cover as many as I possibly can, and I have adjusted them slightly here and there to account for the time gap between 2017 and now. So with that being said, Mrs. Producer, if you would be so kind, I am sharing. Alrighty. Retirement planning by the numbers. So one of the first things that Aaron talks about is that the average life expectancy has risen from 68 to 79, pretty much from the time that the idea of a modern retirement or the Social Security check was invented to now, which is that life expectancies are rising. Originally, you were supposed to die 3 years after you retire. Now it's looking like it's closer to 14 years. So that might be affecting the amount of money people need to retire. So, speaking of the amount of money needed to retire, the way that it works is that wherever you are in life, there's this magic finish line that you're trying to hit that number. That number is going to change throughout time due to nasty inflation and also the compounding effect of your investment money in something like the stock market or bonds as well, or a combination of both. So, you can kind of imagine that this future money, we've ran the inflation all the way back and put it in today's money. So you pretty much need $500,000 in 2017 money as your retirement finish line, or because there was a 26.6% inflation between 2017 and 2024, there you go, depressing fact number one. That means that you need $633,000 in 2024 money as your retirement finish line. It hurts to see on paper. So with that being said, Aaron also gives a perspective on his analysis of the different generations and how they're doing in saving for retirement. The analysis for the boomers is that they're not doing too great, and none of them saved up as much as they need to. However, with the folks that do still have time, we have Gen X. They, on average, have about $69,000 in retirement accounts. And then using that number to get from there to your imaginary finish line, they would need to save $500 a month. And then if you convert that to $24, that means that $633 every month would need to go to that retirement fund. Moving on to the millennials, where it gets really bleak. The average millennial has $5,000 in retirement accounts, and that would mean that they need $9,000 per month, according to Aaron's numbers. And according to my inflated numbers, that means you need to save $1,140 every month to make it to that retirement number. Yeah.
So I was right. It's never going to happen.
Let's not say that. That's where we're going to talk about the crypto portion later and hope that that can save our asses.
Oh, that's funny as hell because I was just about to say something about that.
True. Alrighty. So, and another numbers to numbers comparison. So we're talking about lifestyle as well as inflation on this one. All of the numbers that you see on the screen have been adjusted by Aaron Clary for 2017 numbers to be equivalent. So looking at the average family, back in 1955, we had 3.5 people living in a household on $25,000 salary, 2017 numbers, 2017, $25,000. The average home was less than 1,000 square feet, just a hair. It was like 990 something. And they had one car, a singular vehicle. Moving to 2017, there are 2.5 people living on $55,000 salary. The average home is over 200 square feet, or 2,000 square feet, and they average 2.3 vehicles per household. So, notable difference between the two there. I did some 2017 versus 2024 math. If you want to know where I got my 26.6% inflation, that was a money calculator that I used when I looked at pure inflation from the consumer price index data on the very bottom row there. We got about 27%. So to see how other things have also appreciated during that time, the median single-family home has gone up 50% from $284,000 to $428,000. Along the same time, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, it has varied up and down. I want to say it peaked out at about 7.6, but started off at 3.9% in 2017. We obviously had the lovely pandemic where we went to about like 2.5%, 2.9% interest rate, depending on your credit score. And now in 2024, we peaked at 7.6 and have come back down to 6.8%. This is more of a linear scale for interest rate. However, just remember that debt and compounding interest rates are exponential. So 3% here, it does not translate to 3% more. That is 3% more every year for 30 years. Additionally, the car market has also seen different changes as well. The average mid-size car price in 2017 was $25,500. Today, it is $32,000. That is a 25% increase along the lines of inflation. And then the S&P 500 in the same time has done a 118% increase. And that is also including the last 2 years where we had a bear market in the S&P 500 and just recently hit all-time highs. That came out to 16.8% growth every year. Notably, this is also, this is 2017, so it was a very, very aggressive business market at the time. So these are obviously higher than the average projected returns over a 10-year period of the S&P 500, which is about 8 to 10%. That is a very common statistic and number that that economists will use for retirement planning and investment planning, which is that they expect the stock market to yield 8 to 10% every year when you average it out over any 10-year period, any of them. So like you include like a really good year and really bad years. Overall, 8 to 10%. Remember that number. And additionally, inflation is supposed to be 2%. Usually ends up closer, somewhere between 2.5% to 3%. All righty. So here's where we go back to the panel. Now that we've looked at the numbers. Is this the right slide? Tell you what, we'll go back. I want to look at this one. So when we're looking at the retirement numbers, what do you think? Is this what you expected? Is this higher than you expected? Does it sound attainable? Somebody lead us off, please.
No,
Yeah,
frankly,
go
so
ahead.
okay. So as far as like millennials go, now $900, who the heck is putting $900 into a retirement account? You know? And we're millennials here, right? Except for maybe Sam. You're younger, right? But
Sam's probably Gen Z, I think, but we won't add him too much here.
However, like this is where I was gonna get into crypto. Like, oh, I was doing $1,000 a month into crypto, right? So maybe that's my retirement account. But I mean, dude, I've had to sacrifice a lot. Me and my family have had to sacrifice a lot, enable for me to be able to do that all of this year. So yeah, what's going on here with the 900 per month for? Oh yeah, and then how long was that supposed to be for?
This is the average age until retirement age. So for Gen,
Okay, so 79.
No, until you hit 65, until you have to start withdrawing on it.
Oh, okay. God damn, Jesus Christ, that's what my yeah.
The numbers do also take into account the compounding interest of investment. However, at the same time, though, just looking at the raw numbers on a monthly basis, like for the average American, I can imagine that these seem like some very steep numbers, considering we've touched numerous articles in the past on this channel talking about how the average American can't really even account for like a $1,000 expense. Savings accounts are less than $5,000 by far. So when you take those factors and put them next to these numbers, it looks a little bleak. Sam, what you got?
You wouldn't be able, the normal person would not be able, with $900 a month, would not be able to live or do anything other than put that money away, pay for bills for 65 years or 45 years. Jesus.
That's true.
I agree. Yeah. So there was a time in my life where I was actually trying to I hadn't really thought about I was trying to think about the long-term financial situations and stuff. Right. And so I literally just pulled up an Excel sheet and started, be like, okay, years 1 through 100 or whatever. Right. If I'm making this, and I went through all the expenses that sort of normal people have. And I was like, I don't know, where are you going to find $900 a month? And also it's just with the inflation and I was just talking to RG3 about this. So he was saying about people's performance and work has skyrocketed, but their pay may go up a little bit, but it's not reflecting the inflation and everything. So basically people are getting being able to quote retire or have so much money that it can just work for you. To get to that point, it's getting harder and harder and harder just because of the system that we have. And so it's just I don't know. You can't really approach it from the perspective of if I want to get to this number, I just need to set aside $900 a month. It's no, you need to be doing something extraordinary. Everybody's got to have something that they are doing that's going to get them that extra boost, right? Whether it's crypto, whether it's starting a business or something. It's you just can't get by being a normal person and saving. It's not going to work anymore.
You're not wrong. When one of the popular figures that I've seen for the average person's budget is it sounds a little ridiculous in today's inflated housing market for sure. I didn't even cover the rental market. I forgot to grab that data, but I'm pretty sure that has also gone up equally to just housing prices as well. So your average budget is something like 50% of your budget, 50% of your income should be going towards your essentials. That includes housing, transportation, insurance, food, utilities, that kind of stuff. Then after that, it's 30% you have on disposable income to live, and then 20% is savings and investment. So that means that if you have 20% at 900, even if all of your savings and investing money went into retirement stuff, that means that $900 a month at 20%, that would mean that you were making $4,500 a month as well, which, I mean, that's about $60,000 a year, a little bit less. But at the same time, when you start working the numbers yourself, it gets tight in certain spots. And especially in today's day and age with the housing costs in particular, that is the one that I found has been eating up people the most. So, yeah.
You know,
Will,
see what you got to do.
Oh, Nate,
I
go
was-
for
I
it.
was gonna-
You got to.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You go ahead,
Okay.
Will.
I was just
Oh.
gonna say that the Overton window is shifted. That's like basically the financial Overton window where you used to be able to when you cut everything into like percentage of your yearly salary, like what was a yearly like disregard the number, whether your yearly salary was $5 or $200,000. Like the amount of the percentage of things that you could do with your yearly salary has shifted throughout time. And like I can't just say like, oh, this is to blame, that is to blame. And it like realistically, it doesn't matter what's to blame. Like this is the way that the world is. So you have to like take it as it exists and run with it, or find a better system and then like go over there to that thing. Right. So like it doesn't matter the way that things used to be versus the way that they are. It's just like this is what is. So like get used to it and figure out what you're gonna do about it. Like
That's
it
fair.
is quite sad. It is quite sad that this crazy change has happened. And perhaps that perhaps like we have a lot of things that like came as a positive effect of like all the stuff that brought this. So like these are all negative effects of something. Perhaps there's a whole bunch more like positive things. Like we get LASIK now. They didn't have LASIK back in 1955. They didn't have air conditioning, or maybe they did. I don't remember when that was invented. But like there's like there's a lot of things that we have now. There's a lot of things that they didn't have then, and same thing vice versa. But people definitely have to there's a lot more pressure to figure out how do we best maximize the leverage that we can wield against this financial system that we find ourselves in. Right.
You're not wrong.
And-
in particular, when it comes to things change over the years, one of the things that Aaron Clarey talks about in the book is like cars and transportation, which is that would you want a car from the 50s or 60s? The answer is, unless it's
No.
for nostalgic purposes, no, because by every metric, the vehicles that are produced today are better. They are more reliable, they're more fuel efficient, they're safer, they can have more capability in them. However, at the same time, that also comes with a cost, which is increase in price, which means that this is naturally, as just a result of the trends of the time, which honestly was caused by government regulation, but we'll ignore that one for now. But the trends of the time shift, and you got to shift with them. Will, you said it perfectly there, which is like you have to operate on what is, not what you want it to be. So
Yep.
fair enough.
And so like so on that subject, this average of 5K in retirement accounts, and we need $900 a month. So 1,040 in 2024, or 1,140. I can't remember. Was that 900? Is that like what we need to be putting in right now, or is that what like we're expecting to need once we get to the retirement age? Is that the start number? Or is that the end number?
That number is based off of looking at the retirement accounts for that generation and then saying how much would you need to put in every month to hit that final finish line figure of 500K in 2017 or 633K in 2024. It's
Okay.
that is how much you have to put in consistently to make up that gap.
I think that somebody somewhere should and nobody has to do this, but I would much prefer to see this metric in loaves of bread as opposed to dollars, because like the price of bread is basically going to stay the same / only get cheaper with time, right? So like if you look at what bread cost in 2017 and you look at what bread costs now, and you put those two numbers over and under each other, just like the 500K over the 633K, right? I'm willing to bet that there'd be a pretty, like, it wouldn't be exactly right, but like a loaf of bread is a loaf of bread. And like so then you look at it like, how many loaves of bread do I need in order to like survive or whatever? And you can, like, I'm just using loaves of bread as a catch-all example, right? But like something that would like remain constant throughout time / only get like cheaper in relative time value versus like the actual number of units of fiat you have to spend, like basically going up because of inflation and everything. But like, how many
get what
loaves
you're
of
saying.
bread do you need to survive retirement? You know, when you factor in loaves of bread, also pay for rent. They also pay for like, you know, the nannies to wipe your butts when you're super duper old, and like the people that are like, you know, gonna shuttle you to bingo and all that other stuff when you're at retirement age. Like, I would be curious to see like what is that metric and what does it equate to, and is there like some sort of nice big old round number? And then to the more like actionable steps for the folks at home, like getting $900 a month is that's pretty good numbers if you're just doing the old, like, so Aaron Clary's method is the old standard approach of traditional finance system, right? It's not a whole lot of like cool crypto risky degenerate stuff. Like, we're engaging in incredibly risky behavior by partaking in the cryptocurrency world. Like, let's not fake ourselves. We are all being degenerate gamblers. Even the people buying Bitcoin, like even the people buying the grandpa money, the blue chips, like they're still being degenerate gamblers. Now, granted, it's like it's a pretty safe degenerate gamble, but it's a lot more gambly than, well, actually, I don't know if it's more gambly than the stock market, just because of the well, I don't know. That's a whole nother debate. That's a whole nother topic. But it's like we're all gambling on trying to find like the fastest financial train that will skyrocket us up to the moon, because trains go to the moon. And that's what I think is going to be like a good thing for folks to do, is to find out what's going to be your like incredibly effective money printing machine, whether it's you doing a whole bunch of push-ups and a crowd of audience people, like they all pay you $1 for every push-up you do, or you invest in the stock market, or you start a cool business, or you buy and sell ducks, or like, you know, whatever it is that you do, or invest in cryptocurrency, whatever it is. Like, people need to find faster and faster and faster mechanisms of like financial sovereignty that will allow them to reach like escape velocity, where they no longer have to participate in the slave stuff that me and Nate were talking about
Yeah,
earlier.
so what you're talking about
Well
there,
said.
what you're talking about is leveraging something. So
Yeah.
in the millennials case, it started with millennials because I would say the millennial generation is kind of when we realized, as you can tell with the numbers, yeah, we're kind of screwed and we're not going to be able to advance from here. And I do believe it was from the Millionaire Next Door that we learned about this, where because the millennials have kind of given up, basically, they started leveraging their risk tolerance, right? So more risk, and be able to get enough gains to be able to even have a chance at retiring. And as more generations have come through, it's like keeps getting more and more risky, because unfortunately it's getting harder and harder to be able to do this whole retirement thingy-mabob that the government has set up. And so that's where you use crypto, because, you know, I don't know if people have told you out there about crypto. It's pretty risky. Isn't that right, Will?
Yep.
So the gains are better than you're going to find anywhere else. However, at the same time, it will dump much, much harder than anywhere else. That's why whenever we talk about the space, we tell people to make sure you fully understand what you're getting yourself into before you push the green and red buttons. Alrighty. I do want to toss a question over to Mrs. Producer. So specifically with this slide that we pulled up here, we have the difference in living between 1955 and 2017. All the numbers have been adjusted so that they are the same like year currency effectively. So when you look at this comparison between 1955 and 2017, well, what kind of story do you pick up on the differences between how people lived back in the day versus how people live now?
So we're talking about the number wise, basically, or
I'm trying to let's look at the numbers and try to paint a story out of it. So 1955, we have more people living on less money in a smaller house with fewer vehicles. In today's day and age, we have fewer people needing more money, living in a larger house with more vehicles.
Gotcha.
Like, what does that tell you about the difference between the times?
The first thing I think when I see this is, how do you have 3.5 people? Where's the half one coming from? I'm concerned. Anyways, and then after that, the second thing. No, I know, but it's been always like a funny thing in my brain. Anytime I see that 2.5 people or 2.3 cars, I'm like, can you just round down or up? Like, come on, help me out over here. So for me, this is something that he was talking about. This is one of the parts that I found kind of sad for me personally. I am a collector of things. I like my stuff. And he very much says, fuck your stuff. And
He really does.
yeah, and that's one of the biggest differences between these two different people, these two families. We need bigger, better, more, more, more. And that's very much been ingrained in us, at least in American culture, where we are. It's been, I mean, why do you think so many Americans are in debt? Why do you think so many Americans are overweight? Why do you think so many Americans are just making all these poor decisions over and over again? It's an addiction. So yeah, that's what it makes me think of. The only thing though is for me, I mean, I guess I am a consumer after learning all this. Or I mean, obviously, I already knew that we're all consumers in some way or other. But I am. I guess I would say I would put myself in the category of being one of the problem people, which also kind of to be expected because it is typically women who are doing most of this excessive spending type of things. Does that answer your question though, or did I like completely miss it?
No, that makes perfect sense. And you even hit on a point that I wanted to lead into for a question for you guys, which is the addiction thing. Is that honestly, consumption spending is an addiction. And Aaron Clarey talks about it in the book, which is that this is the cause of a dopamine cycle. So previously, the dopamine cycle is caused exclusively by survival necessity in the past, which is his examples of you kill the saber-toothed tiger doing the new technique you figured out. The dopamine rush that you get in your brain helps you remember this and encourages you to do this more to get that same rush. On the other side of the fence, you go find some berries in the forest that they taste good and they don't kill you. So now you get that dopamine rush of the good food that feels good and doesn't kill you. So now you remember things better all about it and are encouraging yourself subconsciously to do it more. You're trying to remember where you found them, what they look like, what they smell like, and then all that stuff. So with that being said, that leads me into the question of, do you concur with Aaron's assessment of the dopamine cycle that is used to reward survival, but now it is instead rewarding consumption? Does this seem like a reasonable explanation as to explain consumer spending habits, as like this was a system that was used for survival and now we've kind of hijacked it for consumption, because in the past if you consumed you survived, but now if you consume you're kind of just living?
I got real quick here. I'll go first if that's okay.
Go for it.
I'm going to say 100% true. I very much agree with that. There's something that we watched a while ago now that went into the details and basically broke down how the idea of fast food is literally addicting to us because it does exactly what he's describing here. It hits on the certain parts of your brain that just light it up. As soon as you have that, your brain, and it's actually the primal part of your brain that's reacting to this, because back when we didn't have civilizations like we do now, when food was not guaranteed to us, when we had to go out and hunt and gather, and it depended entirely on our success as to whether or not we could hunt something down or gather those berries, that part of our brain only really kind of reacted once we had that guarantee. Now that we have that guarantee all the time, as soon as you go through the fast food lane and you get that food, it hits that same part of your brain. It literally becomes an addiction because of it.
I hear you. I think I'm completely in agreement here. I would add another layer to this, though, which is that, in my opinion, the evolution of human knowledge is kind of a Pandora's box. As in, once you open it, you learn about it, you can't unsee it. Which is that throughout all the research into marketing and human psychology and human physiology throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, marketers and companies learned how to make things using the dopamine cycle, how to make things mentally addicting. You see this a lot when it comes to especially app design now in the 21st century, of how do we make this algorithm or this user layout really trigger those dopamine sensors in your brain and keep people coming back. So that's
exactly. And another real quick example here with the same vein that I was already in with the fast food type of stuff, they have legitimately added in a smell that will permeate throughout like parking lots. Like when I was still working at Walmart, I was in the Walmart parking lot. I was smelling like Wendy's fries from 2 blocks over. They added that stuff in there. It's all a psychological like little game that they're playing.
Yeah, Disney does that too, I think. They blast food smells around Disney to make you want to eat.
I wanted to kick this question over to Will and Sam. I'll start with Will. I know that I think you understand the idea of how to train people, especially being in the military in the past. But also, I know that you as a person, you try to develop yourself as much as possible. So when it comes to this whole dopamine cycle, like, are people just screwed? Is there a way to rewire this? What do you think?
It just depends on how strong of an individual you are and how and the great part, the good news is that everyone can. The bad news is that most people will either tacitly choose not to, or they will just like never be informed that this is possible, right? So like it's definitely possible to break the cycle because like, we are all sovereign human beings and nobody is like, you're only a slave as much as you allow yourself to be a slave. And that's in regard to anything. That's to your job, that's to you being like a prisoner of war, that's to you like nobody can ever force you to do a push-up, right? The drill instructor can scream at you as hard as he wants, but like ultimately you have to decide to sit there and do the push-up. Nobody can force you to put down the Coke, or like nobody can force you to stop drinking the coffee. Nobody can force you to like freebase the cocaine. Like there's all sorts of things that people choose to do because like choosing to do it is easier than choosing like not to do it. And that's the shit. Where was I going with it? The easy answer is yes, it's possible. The more nuanced answer is like it depends, just because like a lot of people don't have access to the information, but it's like you can figure it out after a while that you don't have to live in anyone else's world. And this is like where the frame part of like the red pill manosphere comes in. It's like you can choose everything in your life. You can choose to follow this set of rules, you can choose to follow that set of rules. You can choose to be strong, you can choose to be weak, you can choose to live with X, Y, and Z, you can choose to live with A, B, and C. You don't have to be a slave to your dopamine. It's easier to just follow and do the things that make you feel good, sure, but like it's yeah, I guess that's the end of my thought process. I'm just going to basically beat a dead horse if I go on further.
No, excellent. I will say when it comes to how to actually fix the dopamine cycle and understand like how to use willpower or not fall prey to it as a lack of it, we'll talk more about that when we get into Aaron's prescriptions. Although I do want to loop Sam in here and ask him, so we've shown you the numbers now. I know you said you weren't thinking about retirement a ton before, but now that you've seen the numbers, does it feel attainable, or does this seem like something of a time long past?
I mean, kind of like I said before, I mean, the attainable part is going to be in how good are you going to be at finding that special thing that's going to get you to those numbers. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's not attainable. I mean, mostly like partially because like one, you got to be making the amount of money to be putting that money aside. And two, because like, just like we're talking about dopamine, people have all of these issues and all these spending habits and all this consumption habit, right? All of this like hindbrain drive to like buy and do this thing. It's like when you're competing against all of these things all at once, most people aren't going to do it, right? And so, attainable, yes, but you have to be the kind of person who can step back from like yourself and like really be willing to like stop a lot of things to retrain your brain to like be rewarded with the right things. And I think that's a very big portion of like getting on the right track is being able to like do some good resets. If you need a good brain reset, cold water does a really great thing. I mean, very literally, like if you want to, like you'll know when you've kind of hit a reset, because like if you start taking some cold showers or like just a cold water dunk of any kind, literally just put your hand in a bucket of ice water. It can be that simple, right? If you can't handle a lot, you will know when your brain has starting to become rewired, because what's going to happen is you're actually going to look forward to it right before it happens. And you're going to get a little boom. You're going to get a little rush of dopamine, a little bit of excitement. You're gonna be like, oh yes. Like you're actually going to get that natural like rush and enjoyment out of the process, even though it's uncomfortable. Right. So like, I think there's something super valuable about people learning to control these like little like dopamine hits, right? And it's something as simple as like go out to a basketball court and shoot the ball at the hoop from like a foot away from the basket. And when you can get the ball to go in the basket every time, it's like every single one of those is like, it's a hit, and then you're going to get better at it, right? So if you step farther away, like it's these little things that people don't go out and do this kind of stuff to get dopamine anymore. They're like, I'm gonna sit at my screen and like watch video. That was a cool video. All right, after 100 bad videos, oh, there was a cool video. All right, and I'll scroll through 100 more to get another good video, right? So yeah, that was long story short, yes, but people have to be able to like crack down and
I like it. Alrighty, Nate, I'm going to give you a last word on this before we move into part 2 of the book, which is the prescription for finance by Aaron. What do you got?
Well, so the Stevensons are a little bit different than normal people, I would say. And not only that, but also
Some might say
I think there may be
different.
Yeah, right. I think there may be a little bit of a brotherly thing there as well, though, right? And that brotherly thing would be called accountability partners. And so here's the thing that there we are. So here's the thing that has kind of happened throughout my life. So if I'm alone and I don't have, or even if I do have friends that just kind of lazily sit around playing games, right? And I decide I want to go do something, what is it that I'm more likely to do? To stop doing the advancements that I've been trying to do, because everyone around me is just kind of lazying about, right? I would say most people, or even like if you're alone, you know, your mindset kind of starts going into, well, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. You're always battling yourself with that. So one thing I think is absolutely vitally important is that you find yourself a place where you can be around people to be able who have either already achieved or enjoy working towards achieving what it is that you yourself want to achieve. And that right there, the competition, so to say, automatically is going to overtake. In fact, the dopamine that you would be receiving is from the competition. Because as soon as they say, hey, you need to do something, and I did it, but you can't do it, as soon as you do accomplish at least to that point, to the goal that you set, that right there is the dopamine. And that is how you're going to be able to change your mindset. And then from there, you yourself can be that accountability partner after you reset your brain that way to somebody else who's stuck in the same sort of rut. That's how we all bring ourselves up together.
Excellent. I like it. Alrighty, on to part number 2. Aaron Clarey's prescription for the finance and the retirement stuff. So we're going to start off with minimalism. When you're talking about getting your budget in order, Aaron asked the question, do I need to buy this thing? If the answer is no, then you don't buy the thing. This is, next up, we have one of the ideas of his, which is that spending principles are better than strict budgeting. What he means by this is that anybody can come up with a budget, but budget, like many battle plans, will not survive first contact with the enemy or an unforeseen expense. So, therefore, instead, just have better principles that you can stick by, and then also do a little bit of that planning for the unseen stuff. Apologies to Mrs. Producer here. This is where he takes a shot at you personally, I think. And me, I will fully admit, I like stuff, as in the Leaning Tower of books. By the way, this fell over on me earlier this week. Declutter. Get rid of junk, but keep sentimental and essential stuff. Aaron does very much specify that having things of sentimental value makes sense. Having a bunch of random crap or the project car that you're never going to fix in the garage, it's probably got to go. And the reason that he says this is because, like we talked about previously, housing is one of the largest expenses that you have. And guess what? About 2/3 of your house, on average, is pretty much just storage for stuff. So if you remove the stuff, you remove the need for storage, you remove the need for the large, expensive house. So that's one way that you could possibly help solve what he calls as the spending versus savings, like, linear thing. But I think it's more of a triangle, because there's a third thing which he doesn't specifically call out, which is income. The idea is that when it comes to saving for retirement, you can either cut personal expenses, or you can try to save better, or you can do a third thing, which is just try to increase your income overall. Any of those three things is going to be how you solve the retirement issue. And then additionally, another way to solve this issue is you eliminate debts, because this is going to be one of those things that stops you from saving, because you are buying more than you can pay for right now, and you're paying for it with even more future money. Lastly, this is one of the more interesting points that I think Aaron made, is he hates the idea of commuting. And I can understand why, because by the numbers, he breaks it down this way. On average, people will spend 52 minutes every day commuting to work. Over time, over a whole year, for example, that's 26 full days. If you are a dual income household, then that's 52 days worth of people's time that is spent in traffic, in a car, and not doing either something they love or with someone that they do love, or doing something that they actually genuinely enjoy. And then lastly, his final point is that he says the human brain was not programmed to retire. For millennia at this point, people have worked till they died because they had to work, otherwise they died. So that being said, now we're in this day and age where it's possible through investment and compounding interest to get to the point where you can have a nest egg to live on for your last few years and also leave something behind to pass on to other people. So this is one of those things where we talked about the dopamine cycle, which is it's a psychology thing and it's a physiology thing. This is one of those things where it's like we had thousands of years of human evolution and just survival programming you. Now that we're in an age where we have computers and we've had them for the last like 30 years, does this suddenly change your hardwiring, your code? Aaron says no.
I've got something if you don't mind.
When you're
over
done,
here.
Will, I've got
Absolutely.
some too.
Absolutely.
Okay,
We are
sweet.
this is done for the prescription section. I want to get your guys'
Okay.
takes. Will, what you got?
So when he's so Aaron, I think like he's got good advice here, but I think that he's basically slapping a band-aid on the illness like he's fixing the symptom, not the illness. You know, it's like slapping a band-aid on an infected finger as opposed to like just cutting off the damn finger. Like you're gonna lose it anyways. I think that he's addressing, or shoot, there's a better saying for that, but that's the basic general idea. When he talks about decluttering the house, it's like it's basically a person cannot keep up with the problems that they are causing. You can either minimize the problems that you're causing, or you can become better at providing solutions. Minimizing problems, and you know, these are just two different goals. These are two different tools that you can put in your toolboxes, right? You can either find better ways, like you were saying, make more money, or you can create less problems, right? So like if you're a person and you're going through life and you've got too much stuff, you've got too much things, you've got the two options of either I need to get better at producing value and generating value so that way I can, like, you know, have these things and they're justified, or I need to either grow, or I need to like shrink my my eccentrics and things of that nature. And I personally think that it's better to choose to grow and to choose to like try and ascend through the life and try and like just get better exponentially, that rather than trying to like solve for minute problems. Now I think that this is good. And so and again, these are two different types of advice for like person A and person B. Person A being like the person that just fucking like gets after it and fucking skyrockets and takes off in life, and person B is someone who goes along to get along, and like they need to minimize their problems and they need to basically exist on less and do things. So it's like it's good advice to declutter and stuff if you're in the category of like the Delta people who just kind of want to go along to get along. But if you want to like really skyrocket and stuff, then you need to maximize potential. Perhaps not focus on eccentricities and other things of that nature, like while you're young, but like when you get older, just learn how to solve bigger and better problems. You know, just learn how to be a better producer, learn how to generate more value so that way you can get a bigger home, so that way you can store more stuff, so that way you can do more things, you can have more eccentricities. You know, Aaron's advice is good for people that would also take like Dave Ramsey's advice. You know, it's like it's a good stepping stone, it's a good first the first step, and it's good advice for most people. This is going to fit that middle of the bell curve type folks, but I'm speaking out here to the peanut brains and to the smart brains, none of the people with the gray squishy brains in the middle. Like try and solve bigger problems, grow better, get more momentum, build up speed, you know, get fit, you know, make money, learn how to be Rico Suave, all these things that will just like level up your life significantly better, rather than trying to like minimize the like maximize your output. Don't try and minimize the things that are holding you back, I suppose. And is what I'm saying in this particular instance. And you know, that's not good advice for everyone. That's just to each their own. I just wanted to provide a counter to what not necessarily a counter, but an alternative to what he's saying. So that's what I got. Sam and Nate, you guys each had something for this?
Yeah, so I am going to basically jump off the back of that and say that, like, yes, this, while that will work for some people, I don't think that's ultimately the best solution. And there's a few reasons for that. So if we ever get around to reading the book of Mate for book club, I would say there's a lot of reasons in that book why the concept of just because you don't need it doesn't mean you shouldn't buy it. I don't agree with that. I agree with the concept of like, oh, if you're trying to figure out how to get a handle on your money, that's a good baseline rule to start from, right? It's like, okay, just put some basic rules down. If I don't need it, okay, don't buy it. Cool. But like, you need to kind of move past that, because the whole premise of like only buying things that are bare minimalistic needs to survive is not like, frankly, it's not like, if you're a guy and you live in like this tiny little apartment and it's like, you know what? I don't need sheetrock on my walls to live. I can remove that, right? Like you start doing stuff like that and you basically play the minimalistic game. That's fine. You're going to be alive and maybe you'll build some wealth and stuff, and that's great. But good luck ever impressing like a girl, right? So there are things that we can do as guys, and like if I could buy a regular like table, let's say. I could buy a regular old table and it could do my job. I could hold my laptop, I could work on it and all that stuff. Or I could go buy at a table that maybe it's like maybe it's like a $200 or like a $200 table, or like a $2,000 table, whatever. It's going to be made much nicer, right? You're going to be presenting artwork. And so sometimes, like, if it depends on what your goals are, right? But if you're the kind of person whose goal is like, hey, I want to present as somebody who can actually like buy more than what is needed to survive, right? Because that is basically a symbol of you being capable of providing more than just the art, right? That's all it is. So it's like, if I have someone come over to my house after a date or whatever, and like we're going to play poker, and they see that I have this really minimalistic lifestyle, that could be fine. And depending on the person, that could be okay. But you are going to have a more like a higher likelihood of success if you're trying to like maybe marry this person one day or whatever. They're going to be more impressed and they're going to be more confident in your ability to do things if you have nicer stuff, right? And like you could even, last point, you could extrapolate this out to like supercars, right? So we try to do the whole like, oh, the crypto guys, they all go get a supercar once they've, won big, right? And it's like, well, shoot, if I've won enough and I buy one cash, maybe I will. I don't know. Like if you buy stuff that at that level, it can kind of be an asset depending on how you play the game. But still, like when you do that kind of thing, it can be it can be more useful than just, oh, you're buying an unnecessary thing.
That's true. I think you really hit on a point that is not fully fleshed out in this book, partly because of how short it is, but also the subject focus, which is that Aaron Clarey tackles finance from the minimalist standpoint. What that doesn't mean is that you save every penny ever so that you can die on it like some pharaoh and be buried with all your gold. He specifically talks about this in a lot of his other medium, which is that what is the point of saving all this money? A, so you don't become a debt slave. B, so you can actually do the things you want to do. Aaron himself is very much a big advocate and lover of taking hikes, going for motorcycle rides, traveling. Those are the reasons to spend money in his view. Also, he likes nice food. And I can tell you that one's also pretty nice as well. I've had a few nice things in my life, and that's one of the things I enjoy the most is good food. It's the point of we're not saving without a purpose. We are saving because there is a purpose. There is a goal. There is an end game. There is use for money. He's not saying that like, don't ever buy golf clubs because why would you need golf clubs? It's like, look, if you like golfing, that's your thing. Understand this is why you're saving money so you can spend time and enjoy yourself in this avenue. I know Aaron also says he's an atheist and that at the end of it, you're just going to die. It goes black and there's nothing else. So enjoy the ride. That's part of it for him. Whether or not you have a different moral philosophy or religious take, that's entirely different. However, at the same time, the point being that the book is definitely proposing the idea of saving as much as possible, cutting out expenses, cutting out nonsense, getting rid of the crap. But the other half of this that you don't see in this book in particular is the reason to do so. And like you said, Sam, there's a reason to spend money. There's a reason to like have certain things that might not make sense to people, but they help convey something else that you're trying to convey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I actually got the I was going to type this, but I'll just respond to Moonpill had a comment asking me, at what point does it just for show versus serving a purpose? And I'll quickly respond with like, that is the point, right? So like for show, meaning like, so people are going to see it, right? I'm going to see the Lamborghini when I'm driving inside it, and I'm going to enjoy it. My girlfriend is going to see the Lamborghini, and she's going to enjoy it while she's inside it. My future business partners or people that see me doing a thing, they're going to see that I can somehow afford to have this car, and they're going to make a judgment about what I'm capable of doing. And that could work in my favor. So it's like, it's all part of the same thing. It's like, the world is like, the world is,
that's not minimalistic though. What you're talking about
Yeah.
is somebody who's not necessarily living minimalistic. They're more so like they're advancing forward into like business, trying to onboard, more business partners, or trying to actually go out there and touch grass and freaking get girls and stuff. Like they're living a different type of life. And so, I mean, think about this, right? In the mind of Aaron Clarey, what he's doing right now is he's saying, okay, we're going to go to a base level, right? Base level minimalism. Don't buy things that you don't need to live. Okay, that's about as cheaply as you can get. And I think he's trying to make a case of like just how difficult it is to actually retire. And he's using the case of minimalism on a base case. So that's actually kind of ridiculous of like, oh, if not going to survive, right? I would go ahead and take that, right? And let's go ahead and build on that just a little bit. You can actually create a nice, peaceful little life with what he's put out there. So you start first off with the first level, which is going to be, I'm only buying what I need to live. Okay. But I want some peace in my life. And if I'm only trying to survive, there's really no peace to that. And it is nice, to, as a man, you are going to have pain in life, and don't shy away from the pain and actually move towards it. But don't make your life unnecessarily tough just because, enjoy moments. Like if you have a tough part of your life, you can then enjoy the peace of your life even more, right? And so you need to set up that peaceful place. And so what you want to do is the first level, right? Survival only, then start adding comfort to that. And then the question starts becoming, oh, I want to buy this for this comfort thing, but is this really going to comfort me though? I would beg to differ that Twitter is not necessarily going to comfort you, right? Especially after people start coming after you for whatever fill in the blank reason, probably stress you out. That's not comfort. That's not peaceful. So that one, don't need to pay for that subscription, right? So, but how about this? Like a pillow, right? Pillow, maybe a bed. That'd be nice. Hey, how about like a heater? How about an air conditioner? Yes, that is comfort. So those expenses would be worth it. That would be, it'd be worth the extra amount of electricity you'd be paying for. And you know what? You can build yourself a very nice, humble, but also comfortable little place. And guess what? There's women for that as well, because maybe they want to get the hell away from the city, right? Get out into the country, live a nice, peaceful life themselves.
Fair enough. I did want to give a chance to open it up to Mrs. Producer so she can fire back at the guy who hates people who collect things.
How dare he not let me have my stuff? No, I gotta say, when looking at this, I actually kind of, I'm gonna take a little bit of a, what's the word for this? A leniency. I'm going to twist it to fit my narrative and tell him that everything I own is sentimental to me. Therefore, I get to own whatever I want. So,
right, that's one way to do it.
One thing I wanted to mention, though, about the prescription for finance, the slide that you had up that I didn't get to really see because I had to run off for a moment there. But one thing that I took from this book that I actually did like, that really kind of touched home with me, is the avoid the commute concept. And what he said in there is, obviously you covered it mostly already, but at the end of it, he goes off on what most people say, well, we can't all work at home. He's like, sure, you're right. Not everybody can work at home. but have the self-control to make sure you're one of the lucky few who does. And I am so on board with that. Like, if I do get another source of income here eventually, I'm hoping to maybe go that route once Soren starts back up, or when Soren starts kindergarten, because then he'll be gone for 6 hours out of the day instead of right now at preschool he's only for 2. If the Degen Round Table isn't big enough that we're making, me busy all the time, which we might be, who knows? But if that's not the case, and I do have some more free time, I'm looking to hopefully get a part-time job, but I will not work anywhere from any other place that's not at home anymore. So long as I have the choice. If I get, if Mr. McGettit dies tragically in the next couple of months or years or something, and I don't get a choice anymore, then obviously that goes out the window. But for the most part, I just loved that part so much because it's so important to me. Everybody who did get to start working from home when COVID hit, almost all of them say, I love not having to commute. It was the biggest part for most people. What are you doing, Will? All right, well, Will's plotting murder, I think.
We think you're plotting murder.
It's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're plotting to murder your husband. My goodness.
Yeah, did Nate
no, I said if he
is life insurance policy or something?
No, I said if he tragically Jesus Christ, I don't know how you guys got that so wrong. If he tragically died and I have to go back to work because I no longer have my sugar daddy, is what I was saying. I do not want him to die. What the hell? I don't know how that got
We thought it was more of a, if Nate happens to die, wink, wink.
No, not at all.
It happens after the crypto bull run.
Yep.
Shocking. In 2025, he gave up his C words and then passed away 2 days later.
I have all the seed phrases in my PSA case already, so.
Oh, dude,
that's out the window.
Short fuse there, bud. Watch your back.
Let's just say my sentimental junk that I own, I could retire off of it. So Nate's in no danger whatsoever. You don't need to worry about that.
Oh, geez. Well, this is live. We do it live, folks. So you've heard about it here. If Nate happens to go missing in 2 years, then hey, we'll know where to start looking anyways.
Yeah, we do. I gotta say, when it comes to the commuting point, that felt very Will Stevenson in my brain, which is you just don't do things that you don't want to do, aka commute. And then if they tell you have to come into our office for this corporate culture, you kind of tell them all right, well, you can either pound sand or you can hire me for the skills that you're prospecting me for, and where it is. But I mean, so you put it in, go for it.
There is value in corporate or well, like, company culture, whatever that might be. Some companies choose really shitty culture, right? But some like, this is something that Sam and I were talking about the other day. This is actually your idea, Sam. Do you want to elaborate on it a little bit for potential?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going through the Toyota way right now, and basically one of the things that they're talking about is building a culture of a company that's like, how do you build this group of people where you care about the people first, and it builds this like environment and team that allows a company with a goal to accomplish the goal and do all of these amazing things, right? So what was the original question?
I was talking about the company culture. So you and I were talking about like one day if you you have your own little personal company sort of where you do architectural design and stuff, and you do a lot of like contractor type work and or like consulting type work and stuff. And eventually once your own like outflow exceeds your ability to do it by yourself, you'll have to hire employees. And you were saying that it'd be cool to have a company fridge that's like stocked full of like healthy sparkling water drinks, and like how it'd be cool to have like a gym in the public area, like that's cool company culture stuff that like encourages health and fitness and personal betterment, as opposed to like, hey, you guys got to sit in these cubicles and hang out and talk to each other and go to meetings on every other day and blah 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 blah. And like there's good company culture and there's bad company culture. So like, yeah, to Zenith, your point was originally like people should do the things that they want to do, and commuting is generally a bad thing, unless you're maximizing your leverage during that time. Like you could consider that 52 minutes a day to be like wasted time, or you could be like, hey, that 52 minutes is my school time where I am now learning by consuming books at like 1.5x speed, or like whatever. Like people could be maximizing their time no matter what they're doing. Now most people don't like when they're commuting, they don't do that sort of thing. And it is relatively wasted time. And it does consume a lot more than just time. It's like gas and money and car maintenance and, you know, the headache of attention span and paying to traffic and all that stuff. Commuting is generally bad. Um, so I totally agree with your point on that. But like, I just wanted to bring up that there's the right company can have like a fantastic culture that would be like super duper beneficial for people to take part in. But yeah, your point about tell people to fuck off that are getting you to do things that you don't want to do. Like again, that requires leverage. You have to be able to like back up your words. If like there was positions in my life where I couldn't tell people to fuck off, and I had to do like not necessarily had to, but it was in my best interest to go along with what I was being instructed to do. You know, and there was a lot of growth and development and discipline that came as a result of that. And that puts me in a position right now where I have enough wealth in the terms of like my recognition of the value of my time and the value of like me doing what I want in like my frame and everything. Like I value that a whole lot more now than I did back then, and I know a lot more now than I did back then. So it's all part of growth and stuff. So that's all I wanted
hear
to
you.
tack on there.
I think, yeah, you had a good analogy for this earlier, which is that it sounds like Aaron is writing for the center of the bell curve, and not everyone is the Sigma male, Giga Chad, hustle bro, listening to 3 podcasts at the same time in their drive to work. But like, yeah, there are effective ways to make things work. But I think Aaron's larger point with the book, which is that the idea of a commute is that you hate it, it sucks, it costs you money, and it costs you your precious time. And for a lot of people, that time is a very valuable asset. And then additionally, all those extra requirements take away from what you want to be doing, which is spending time with your family or doing a hobby or building something you care about. And it's like each of those is possibly adding stress to your household, he says. And if you have the ability to not make the commute, or at least make it a lot shorter, that makes sense. To your point, though, about you're and Sam's point about having a culture, there are times when culture is absolutely effective. I think, again, going back to the center of the bell curve thing here with Aaron, is that specifically when it comes to a lot of white collar work, especially in today's day and age, is that the truth is a lot of it can be done just as effectively from home. There's a lot of bean counters, a lot of folks that build the spreadsheets and the slide decks. They don't necessarily need to be in person collaborating with the team. I guess like small excerpt from when I was running my team of engineers, which is we had a project. There are different stages of the project lifecycle. Like when we first got a boat, we had to do a lot of teardown and inspections. But then that middle section, there's kind of a lot of downtime, which is like, we got to let the workers just work. If we keep interrupting them, then they're going to work slower. So it's kind of one of those times where you like sit on your hands. It's like, all right, boys, we checked our emails. We did our meetings. We checked in with the big office back in DC. All right, look at that. It's only 11 o'clock. Well, check your email at 3. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. And we all just dipped. It's like, that's the culture and the teamwork that I think of when you talk about the positive culture, which is their team building so you can work effectively together. And it kind of goes back to the whole speed of trust principle, which is that corporate culture is, especially if you have small teams, is good for building that trust within each other so you can operate effectively. That's where I see it. Alrighty, we are going to move on to the third point, which I think is this is the one section of hope that Aaron gives you. Although he does also put a poison pill in there as well. So, if the point of living is not to retire and die 3 years later, and it's not to buy things and like live a lavish lifestyle, what is the point of living? Well, he calls this chapter your fellow man, aka the other people in your life, as in those are the reasons to live. Those are the people you want to spend time with. They're the people that you want to live for, so you can hang out, you can chat, you can bounce ideas off each other, you can make each other better people, and do the whole like iron sharpens iron, one man will sharpen another. So Aaron does caveat it with saying that people are going to be the best part of your life and also the worst, which is that there are 7 billion people on this planet, and I want you to think to yourself, how many of those people do you like and how many of those people do you frickin' hate? On a base level, Aaron talks about 3 things that he looks for when it comes to people of good quality, so to speak, to bring into your circle, which is you want good people as opposed to evil people. There are some people that just, it feels like they're really out there for themselves, and they'll put a knife in your back if it allows them to pick up a few extra bucks. Yeah, obviously we don't want to be spending our time, our very, very precious time with those people. And then on top of that, you want boring versus interesting people. A lot of good folks out there. I will fully admit, sometimes they just might not be as much of a go-getter up to your speed as you are. Like, for example, imagine yourself in your 20s versus yourself in your 40s, which is that at different stages of your life, you are more than willing to go rock climbing at 2 a.m. and then go hit up the bar until it closes down after that. And then other times you're like, you know what? I just want to have some friends over for dinner. We'll play a board game and call it a night. So, not saying one of these is better or worse than the other, but understand where they match up to you because you want to hang out with interesting people. And then lastly is personalities and compatibility. Obviously, if you have a bunch of people bumping heads, chances are you're not going to want to spend time with those people. But at the same time, a variety of personalities can mix together in Aaron's opinion, so it's good. And then the final point here is that once you have your small group of people that you like to spend time with, understand that life is going to happen, and unfortunately, those numbers are going to dwindle down eventually. Not out of anything bad happening, just people move away, opportunities come up, all that kind of stuff. So the answer here is you always got to be looking to increase the number of good, interesting people in your orbit. And that takes effort. It takes time, and it takes a willingness to go and, I don't know, maybe put yourself out there in uncomfortable situations to go find those people. But the point of this one is you got to keep looking because unfortunately, it's just the way of life. It is the universe's entropy, but with friendship. And then lastly, your family and your loved ones. Whether you love them or hate them, you only got one family you were born into. You have the ability to make another family if you so desire, but these are going to be some of the most important people in your lives, and also probably the ones that are going to be with you at the beginning and the end of it. So it's very important to foster those relationships, in Aaron's opinion. So off of this one, the human element, folks. How do we feel about people? Are they good? Do they suck?
People are the reason for living. People are like there's solitary confinement is like one of the worst punishments that a human being can endure, is not being around other people. So I agree wholeheartedly.
Yes.
I love that fucking picture.
The Dominic Toretto family.
We're family.
Family. All right, Sam, what you got? You got a good family there, I'd argue. Does that matter to you?
I would say so. Yes. I mean, it's like all of the, when I think about, people get excited about sports cars or motorcycles or all these cool toys, like things money can buy, right? Well, the real value that you get out of buying those things, if you really want to extract the value, like you're going to do it with people, right? If I ride a motorcycle, someone's on the back, probably a girl, right? If I'm in a supercar, it could be anyone. It could be, like my grandma, like never been in a supercar before. Grandma, let's see if you can understand this one. How good's your pacemaker, right? So like it's the people that add the real value to an experience. Like you can, and maybe you don't really know this until you've like tried it, right? Until you've like, I went and like bought a cool new mountain bike, and you go mountain biking like by yourself, and you're like, wow, like yes, the physical experience was really great, and the technology on the bike was great. It was smooth. I had a great time, a lot of great traction, all this stuff. But like, you're maybe gonna do it one time because it's like you weren't with anyone, and like you can just obviously people go mountain biking by themselves all the time, but like it's literally like Will just said, it's taking the people out of the equation is the worst punishment you can ever give to someone. So I agree entirely that like you don't notice how much like that's what you want until you like start removing that, and then you're like, well, yeah, okay, like this is really the fun part. And like half the time, like, so when I joined Will to do the towers, I came with a toy, and that little green toy was a Kawasaki like 125 something little pit bike, right? And like I spent too much money on it, honestly. I shouldn't have done that, but like it was fun. And what allowed to happen is the experience of like doing this fun, risky thing with my brother and the other coworker we were working with, and like anybody that came along, right? It's this thing that opens the door to these experiences that we can have. And honestly, like we only had one, right? And so you would ask yourself like, well, what's more fun, getting to ride it or watching somebody else ride it and like have a good time and fall and do wheelies and falling on their butt, Will, or anything like that,
It fell a lot.
It's like it's watching somebody else have the experience, because then like you're really sharing the experience when that's happening. And so 10 out of 10 recommend.
Love it. Love it. All right. I want to bring Mrs. Producer in here to try to balance this out because I know me and the boys could probably talk about mountain biking and riding the dirt bike around all day, but when it comes to people, what interests you the most, and what do you look for with building your circle?
I would say the ability to converse, I guess, simple way to put it, but to be able to actually talk to people in a manner that makes sense and not have to try and almost like, I wouldn't say exactly walking on eggshells, but try and have to almost censor it a little bit to the point where you're trying to make them like understand you. And not necessarily in a way of like you're worrying about them being sensitive, but in a way where they're just not comprehending, you know. Um, that's something that I found very valuable, and that's something that Nate and I have actually, which I think has been a very good hold, or what's that, a glue for the relationship. That's been something that we really get into when we're having talks, like, and we can just sit there all night and discuss whatever's on our minds.
Fantastic. Speaking of the lucky devil, let's bring him in here. What do you look for when building your social circle, my friend?
That's a little bit difficult for me to say because, frankly, I would prefer to be around other people that want to do something, that want to help others, without their own motives, that they're willing to step over you or step through you and able to achieve. And I can tell you right now that is an incredibly rare thing to come across. So for me, I really look at what it is that people are saying compared to what they're doing really, really, really highly. And then if somebody is saying something, there's usually a little thought in the back of my head that goes, okay, so you're saying it. So that means that you're going to do it now, right? We'll see. And so then I give people time, and we just kind of build on from there.
Fair enough. I like it. Mrs. Producer, if you would please bring up the comment by Moonpill, the Irrational Optics. I think he has an awesome point here, which is something that I think all of us share. Whether or not you've been to a crypto meetup in person, he's entirely right on this one, which is the Vegas meetup for the Crypto Mindset course. Vegas meetup last summer was the embodiment of people that add value to life. I wholeheartedly agreed with this because I thought that this is, in my opinion, a meetup of interesting people who are trying to better themselves and their families. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's a lot of good, slightly risk-seeking personalities, but good personalities that get together and enjoy having a good time. Famously, Will and I went to that one, and we actually got to meet Moonpilled. Awesome dude. Very much enjoyed hanging out and getting to know you more and more throughout the year. We cannot wait for these meetups because, in my opinion, these are awesome examples of times to meet people who you might not be like super close with, but you're all interested in the same thing. You all have interesting ideas about how to handle it, probably different ideas too. And it's super easy just to get together and get excited about this thing and just cut it up with everybody. And at the same time, it is possible for something like this in the world of cryptocurrency to turn south, which is the idea of like you're going to try to dump on each other's heads, but not the communities that we've had the pleasure and fortune of running with, which is that everyone is the most likely thing to come out of their mouths is that we're all going to make it, which is that there's enough money to go around. No one is dumping on each other. There's no need to. Even if you wanted to, good luck trying to do so. It's building community. It's building camaraderie as well. And I think that's a lot of reason why I'm still here, because talking with you guys is a blast, and then meeting everybody in person is also a blast, and I want to do more.
I've got an easy way to sum up the kind of people that everyone should want to be around. And this isn't my own idea. This comes from the book, The Ideal Team Player, which I'm going to actually throw into the suggestions for books we should read. But there's 3 characteristic traits that employers successfully look for when they hire employees. And these are just three character traits that are just great for everyone to have, right? And the 3 traits are humble, hungry, and smart, right? Humble, hungry, smart. So humble means like you work well with other people. You're like you take direction, and you're a good leader and a good follower. Hungry means you're ambitious. You want to make the world a better place. You're looking to try and create. You're trying to build. You're not focusing on like, oh, like this is all the cool stuff we did in the past. It's like, no, this is all the good shit that I'm going to do in the future. Right. So humble, hungry, and then smart. Smart is the last one. Smart is just knowing how to interact with other people in a positive manner, and just be like a good people person. Know how to communicate, know when to say nice things, when to hold back on saying other things, like how to just be like a positive, like to have the riz, as the kids put it these days. This my age is showing, but to just to be charismatic and just be a good person. So those are the three things that like I think everyone should look for in the type of people that you want to surround yourself with. Is you want to be around people who are humble, hungry, and smart. That's what I would super duper recommend, to boil it up into one little thing right there.
Beautiful. That actually leads me into a topic / issue I want to tackle that we've come up with in the last few years. Mrs. Producer, if you would please do me the honor. So this is from Forbes Health article talking about how people are much less likely to socialize post-pandemic in 21, 22, 23, and now 24. So I'll read off the screen real quick, but also let you see it yourself. 59% of respondents say they find it harder to form relationships since the onset of the pandemic, just compared to just 13% who find it easier. 25% of people report feeling anxious, and 20% they feel scared about socializing with friends or family they haven't seen for a few years. 56% of people feel more isolated since the onset, and 29% feel more depressed. Additionally, I have another one, this one from Newsweek, which is Americans are socializing less. Is it making us unhappy? According to a survey of 2,000 eligible voters in the U.S., 42% said they are less sociable than they were in 2019, while 37% said their friends are less sociable now as well. And then additionally, we have less than half, 43%, socialize with friends in person on a daily or weekly basis. Nearly a fifth said they do so less than monthly. And then 16% said rarely or never. Socializing at your local neighborhood bar is also becoming a thing of the past. He said the frequency with which Americans, both married and single, went out to bars, nightclubs, and the like, dropped by about 40 to 50% over the last decade or two. This article also does call out the book Bowling Alone. That is a book that talks about the decline in social clubs in the United States, whether it's any sort of social institution from school, clubs, activities, church even, which is that as a nation, sociability is starting to drop, especially with the event that happened back in 2020. Sociability and the opportunity to socialize has dropped, and I think people's attitudes toward it have also changed. So I want to throw this to the panel and ask you guys, are you seeing things like this happen in today's day and age? Does it seem like people are making less friends or less willing to put themselves out there?
You know what I think it is? I think what really happened with the zombie virus was not necessarily that it was being stuck at home themselves that's changing this. I think it's being stuck at home and unable to go out means that there's a lot of people who would regularly have gone out now are trying to figure out, well, how can I socialize? And then they learn more and more in depth about like social networking and stuff via all computer screens.
That's fair. The reason I brought up these articles and I want to get your guys' take on them is because Aaron's solution to what's going on is that people are the solution. Build your social network. But at the same time, it seems like people's willingness or their fears in doing so is dropping ever increasingly. So, I don't know. What you guys think?
Yeah, so personally, I don't like... Everyone's going to get their different take on that, of course, depending on what their logistical situation is and where they are, where they choose to go. If you decide to go where the people are, there will probably be people. I could not get on the Omnia full dance floor because there were so many people. They were blocking it off. So, like, as an example, if you go to a nightclub in Vegas, there will be people there who want to have a good time. If you are in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, and like, yeah, maybe your bar of 10 people is now down to 4. Maybe. I don't know. But, you know, I think the statistics should only be as relevant as like, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, what are you going to go? Just like why do those numbers, like, not to like poo-poo your statistics, but like, why should
No,
those
this is a
numbers
good point.
matter if you can just, if you go to your bar in your town and it's empty, go to the next town, go to Houston, go to Dallas, go to like New York, go to where the people are.
You're not wrong, Sam. Statistics are a good capture of the market overall. However, at the same time, unless it's something that you really have no control over, it's probably not too difficult to start being a bit of an outlier yourself, especially if you train to do something. Like, you can train to be sociable. You can learn and just like build up that social muscle and get used to and understand like how to like go to talk to people, how to approach them, how to keep a conversation flowing, that sort of stuff. Like, that's a very learnable skill. So in my opinion, it's something that we've talked about, I think, on a previous book club, which is that training and exercising your ability to get out of your comfort zone is going to be one of the most important things you can do in life, because it allows you to make harder and harder, more uncomfortable decisions easier, quicker, and better later on, because you've built up that ability to do so. So, what you guys think?
I have something to add here.
Please do.
Okay. I wanted to just bring this up because I think this is kind of an ironic ideal here. If he says that people are the solution to all the problems that he kind of proposes in this book, I think then at that point we need to kind of enforce a major mindset change in how people work. One thing that he said in the book is work is the opposite of freedom. That's how most of us have come to view work, because we don't necessarily want to be there. We don't necessarily want to do those things. It takes up most of our time. I mean, unless you're in a lucky position where you love doing what you do. But a lot of us are not. So to say that, and then to also encourage people to work from home, it's sort of counteractive, because a lot of people are in the habit, I guess is probably a good word for this, of going out somewhere like directly after work. Usually that's kind of become a very normal thing for people, especially like Friday night. I get done with work and I'll go to the bar with all my coworkers and we're gonna go do the stuff, go have a great time. If we're working from home, we lose that. And I think a part of these statistics are because a lot of people have switched to working from home now. Not all of it, but a part, at least, a chunk of it. So if that's the answer, is that we need more people in our life and we need to be doing more things surrounding our people and make that our focus instead of our stuff, we have to completely make a shift in order to reach that. So, just interesting how, to see how that could be accomplished maybe at some point.
You're not wrong. I think there has been a shift when it comes to the idea of corporate culture, modernization, and like the proliferation of social media, which is that you go to work. Dating coworkers is very frowned upon nowadays, and that's something that you will get called into HR for talking about. That back in the day, that was very different. It was honestly one of the most common places to meet a significant other was in the workplace. Now, one of the theories that I've heard about how to kind of get around this fact is that another great way or place to meet people is the third sphere, which is that you have your home or family, you have your work, and then you have that third sphere, which is like a hobby, another group, another obligation that you're part of. If you volunteer for something, if you like join a bowling league, something like that. It seems that stuff like that has been a bit on the decline, and I think some of the stats show it here, which is that people are not going out as much, specifically for that third sphere of life, which is finding that other thing to do. It's a lot of go to work or work from home, hang out at home, talk to the few people that you know, maybe online, but outside of that, you're not doing much.
Yeah, and another thing to add to that is a lot of people have been switching to socializing online too. And
cough plus.
Well, if we have the choice to meet up, though, it'll be a little different. But we're pretty far from each other for the most part.
Oh, we're going to
out of all of the degens, we have 2 people who are in the same state, and that's it. Everybody else is God knows where. But what I was getting at here is, I think a lot of this, what they're talking about here, if you look at the wheel, embarrassing myself. Not knowing what to say or how to interact, saying the wrong thing. These are all elements of basically, I would probably call it poor mental health systems. Being able to, I'm trying to find the word, management. Maybe that's the word. Yeah, I think that's a good word for it. A lot of people in this next generation, and millennials are part of this too, have had a pretty significant relationship, and not necessarily in a positive way, with how mental health kind of works. There's a lot of it that's been just really hard for people in these last few generations. So socializing online has taken over because it's a lot easier. You don't have to be a face. You don't have to put a face to the person other than whatever you want to present. They don't have to see you physically at any point in time unless you decide to do that. And a lot of people don't. They don't make that decision. They keep it separate, and they only ever do that with people that they really deeply trust. So I just think that's another part of it, is that today's technology has made it so much easier to not have to go out and to not have to worry about embarrassing yourselves, and to not have to worry about making a good impression with the things that you own and the things that you wear and the way that you look. We have that freedom now. I mean, I call it freedom, but maybe it's almost a prison, if that makes sense.
You have a very good point with this, and I think it's that people have learned to act differently online than they would in person. Therefore, the ability to socialize in person kind of dwindles as a result of that, which is that if you're chronically online, the reason that I think the phrase touch grass got so popular is because it's almost like a different skill set, although a skill set is a bit of a stretch, because sitting behind a keyboard and shit posting or saying mean comments in a stream comment section is very different than trying to go make friends in real life. But you're not wrong, which is that it's not practice becomes perfect, but practice becomes permanent. And if this is what you were practicing, guess what's going to become permanent? Probably this activity. Gentlemen,
yeah, and
go for it.
And so, Will, you and I were talking about this, if you're just sending texts, right, the nuance of the tone is completely lost. The reason why is because we get tone, we humans, right? We receive tone out of body movements, micro expressions, body language. No, what was the voice fluctuations?
Inflection.
Missing the word. But yeah. So, that's where we get all that from. So at the very least, like with what we're doing right here, at least we're on camera, right? And we can kind of get a flow for each other, right?
Mhm.
Would that be a little bit different if we were like standing right next to each other? Probably, right? But at least this is like a good spot to start, right? Because we can kind of get to understand each other's personalities, right? What I think is going on is nobody's even doing anything like this. It's like, hey, let's FaceTime. And people are like, nah, I'm okay with just texting, right? And so that's the only thing you're ever getting. And so you build up this picture of who is on the other side over there, what their personality is like based on text. And that's it.
Not a good mechanism of communication. And that's how the DGen Roundtable started. You're like, but we weren't a podcast when we first started. We were just 10 dudes that got together or something like that. There's probably a couple less, but we were just all on a Telegram call one day because we were just hanging out and talking about shitcoins. And we're like, hey, like, why don't we record this? Because we said a lot of good information. And then, hey, why don't we do it live on YouTube? Because fuck it, why not? And then like people started watching us. It's like, oh, well, I guess we're entertaining or we're fun. And it's like you guys can hang, like this is one of the things that I think is interesting about I guess for streamers, is like we have a relationship with each other because we can see each other, we can communicate back and forth with each other, and our audience has like a relationship with us, and we kind of have a little bit of a relationship with our audience because like we can respond to your guys' chats, and we can see in the telegrams and stuff, and occasionally like you guys will pop up on stream and hang out and stuff. But it's like we're building this is like a legit friend group, and we're all hanging out together, just coming and chilling and drinking coffees on the stream and talking about our feelings and talking about cool books and just like hanging out and shooting the shit. And like, I don't know, it's a cool new way that we're fighting the system, getting back at the Matrix and hanging out and everything. And I fucking love it. I think it's beautiful. That was all my thoughts. I just wanted to tee off of that.
No, it is a beautiful thing. Teamwork is awesome. I think we have a great thing going here, and I'm not trying to speak for the whole team, but I think we at the channel really hope that we make a good community, that people feel invited and welcome to come talk, hang out, chat, bounce good ideas, get good feedback. That's the kind of the corporate culture, if you will, that we're trying to foster here. I know we've been ragging on modern interpretations of how to do things. However, I think there is a guy in this panel that might know how to leverage social media and 21st century technologies to run a better social life. So, Sam, any insights on that?
Are you asking me how I can leverage my Instagram videos of girls dancing to make me seem like a guy who's calibrated that girls like to be around? Is that what you're asking me?
I wasn't specifically going to say that, but I will say this. One of my favorite things that I got to do in Vegas was the day that you and I ran around taking photos together, trying to get some social media stuff. That was a blast. And like, we were just kind of running around trying to like capture a picture, and like it took like 10-15 minutes at certain locations. And it was like, this is working together with someone to try to do something cool. And the whole time we're having fun, laughing and swapping stories. And it's just like, you had a really good take on this, which is that if you want to build friendship, try to add value to other people's lives.
Yes.
And one of the best thing, and I learned this from Sam, one of the best things that you can do to add value to someone's life is by videoing them doing something cool, especially if you can catch them doing something candid that's interesting. So like one of the things that Sam and I would do a lot for each other, just as an example, when we were doing tower stuff, if I happened to be like hooked into the tower somewhere, contorting my body in some sort of like funny or flattering or like cool, like there was like sun reflecting off of a piece of steel just the right way or whatever, like he would take a picture of me and then like send it to me later in the day, or like I would do the same for him, vice versa, or we'd be rolling around like getting cool pictures and shit. That's one of the easiest ways that you can generate just like goodwill with other people, like especially like people that you respect or that you look up to, or that you want to like build some sort of relationship with, whether it's like another homeboy who's got some cool ass information or does like awesome things in life. You could just film him, like surreptitiously film him doing something, and like don't be a dick about it, and then be like, yo bro, I got this cool ass video of you doing this, that, and the other thing. Like you use this for content creation, you can use this for brand building, you could use this for whatever. But like people like to see themselves, right? Like we're all vain at the end of the day. Like what was that? We were talking about that book where they put the mirror in the elevators just because people liked looking at themselves, and it made them forget about why the elevator was slow. It's just like that's one of the easiest ways that you can generate value with somebody is to film them doing some cool shit, because most people are filming other things all the time. They don't like people don't have footage of themselves doing awesome stuff. And so like if you happen to catch some like if like I'm going shooting with the bros, like and somebody's about to like try out a gun they've never shot before, I'll be like, yo bro, give me your phone real quick, and I'm gonna get some cool shots of you like doing so. And I'm not a professional photographer, but it's proof that something happened. And so that's just a super easy way that you could build bonds with people, and that you can just upfront generate value. And this works for girls in the clubs too. You have to be a little bit more calibrated, and there's a lot more that goes into that. But like just filming people doing stuff and then giving them, like filming them for the sake of them, not for you, right? So you want to film people for their own uses and for their stuff like that. So I don't want to go too far down the line, but
You're good. That was excellent.
Add a little bit of information to that. If that all seems super vain and fake to you, remember this: even if people don't want to take this content and throw it on social media or look at themselves or whatever, like you can apply this principle to even like the most like traditional old-fashioned like stuff, right? If some person's like, you got to be careful, like you don't just want to go around taking pictures of people's children, right? But basically, like if you've got a friend, right, and you're at the friend's house, and like you're all having fun with like their kid or whatever, and like the kid's doing something super freaking cute or whatever, like get a video of that and then just like immediately give it to them. And like it's the same thing. People love the content. People love these memories, like all of these things. Just a little hack. That's all. Don't go around taking photos of people's children.
You heard it here from Sam. Don't take photos of children.
Be calibrated. That there's an appropriate time for everything. Go ahead, take us away.
I had one comment from Nate. Sounds like you have an excellent thought to close us out on the friendship and the socialization piece. We are going to try to talk about crypto real quick. I know we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, but we'll try to keep it going. Nate, what you got?
Yeah, one thing that really stood out for me in this book was when Cleary started talking about how he put it in a really weird way, but about how you want to enjoy people before they're gone in life. And he puts it in the manner of like, oh, you're sitting there depressed after someone dies because you're coming to the realization that you'll never be able to interact with that person ever again. But at least you got your BMW to drive around. And it really puts into perspective about overworking yourself, which has quite frankly been me. I want to when instead, I should probably be treasuring maybe my son a little bit more, right? Or other individuals that I have not talked to in quite a while. It puts another perspective, especially the older ones, So yeah, it's definitely something that really made me stop and think and go, maybe I should be making some visits here soon enough.
Makes sense to me.
I
Go
got
for
a
it.
little bit on that. So, something everyone needs to keep in mind. Your grandparents only live for about 20, maybe 30 years of your life. So keep that in mind. Your parents are going to be around for 50, maybe 60 years of your life. Your kids are only going to be around, and like so, it's like think about the generations. The higher the generation is, the less time you have with them in your life. Like whether I like it or not, my grandparents are nearing the age where they're approaching like passing away and moving on and stuff. So like it behooves me to spend as much time with them as possible because their time is limited. And then like second after that is like my parents, and this is just regarding families and stuff. So remember that like everyone that's in your life has a certain number of days that are left over, and that's like the maximum amount of time that you can spend with them. So just that was all that I had on that.
Absolutely. Shout out to Grandpa Stevenson, still chopping wood at 93. That guy's killing it. So
Not only did he
you
do
can.
that, but he just about cut his dang hand off in the log splitter,
Yes.
and he handled it like a beast because he is a beast.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Sam was there.
Alrighty, we got one last topic to cover for this book. It is not specifically in the book, but I do have some of Aaron Clarey's thoughts on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. Aaron is very much a crypto is a rainy day fund kind of thing. Yes, that is Richard Hart for anyone that has seen The Highest of Stakes. By the way, Hexy Bastard and his friends are creating a movie called The Lowest of Stakes, which is a parody of the movie coming out, and it is made with love, but they are taking the piss out of the movie at the same time. So stay tuned.
Is that all about eHex? Too soon.
I didn't get the full story, but no. I did chat with him before the whole eHex thing happened, but yeah. So Aaron Clarey's thoughts on cryptocurrency. It is a rainy day fund. It is similar to gold, silver, other precious metals. His idea is that you should try to accumulate at least one Bitcoin to sit on, and then he's also very aware that cryptocurrency is hyper, volatile. So the guy says, pick it up where you can if it looks cheap. Otherwise, just focus on building the other things, building the other sorts of the nest egg. So that's the author's take on the book. However, our take I want to get from the panel, which is that, in my opinion, I think crypto investing, specifically with the point in time that we're at right now, has the ability to quote unquote break the math and create returns and gains that could possibly be life changing. So what do you guys think? Does crypto fit into your retirement strategy at all?
It absolutely has to. Like I said, leverage. You have to have some kind of leverage on your dollars these days because dude, if you go back to that little math thing you had there with the millennials need $900 every single month for like 45 years, whatever, until you're 65 years old. Like, okay, so how about this then? How about this? So if you put in a full year's salary, okay, 12 months worth, right? And then let's say that crypto 10x's, all right? That is now 10 years that you don't have to work. Okay? Does that count as retirement? I guess for a while it would count as retirement, right?
Yep.
I mean, the leveraging is vitally important when it comes to money, and these are very risky assets. But how else are we going to do it? Go buy bonds. What do you get there? Like 1%? Yeah, my little 900 fucking bucks is going to do great there. Hell yeah, right? I love. Oh God, it's like, nah. You have to leverage out your money nowadays and risk your assets just to be able to make it to retirement. Otherwise, you will be working your entire life. And we have older people as of right now, senior citizens who are coming out of retirement to get a job because the inflation has gotten to their Social Security to the point where they literally can't even survive on what they have. And so now they're working again. And they're like, what, 74 years old, just basically sitting there in Walmart saying, hi, goodbye. Like, God.
Bro, like I don't trust the traditional finance, and it's not necessarily it's more based on like a gut feeling of like an understanding of a principle that things change as time moves forwards. One thing I noticed is that we're all about the same age. You know, we're all in our early mid 30s to early mid 20s, somewhere, or mid to late 20s, somewhere in there. All of our parents probably told us to go to college and get a degree, and that'll fucking set you up for like your working world life, and you'll be great and you'll do wonderful things and blah 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 blah. Now, most of our peer group went to college and got the degrees, and it, like, some of them it probably did something for, but for the most part it diluted the marketplace of like the value that was college that our parents had, like when they were growing up. They saw the people that had college degrees, like, hey, they went out and they won, they solved all the problems, they got the best jobs, yada yada yada. And so they took the old thing that worked and they just said, hey, old fashioned advice, it still applies now. And we're in this new world. Oh, everyone except Will went to college. Yeah, that's true. Everyone except for me. But like,
I was gonna say, Will, where we came from, I think some of the people that went to college got made fun of for it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so officers specifically, we make fun of the officers, but it's all
Those
in
damn
good love.
nerds.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
these
all with love.
fucking nerds. But anyways, like, having a college, the point is, like, the advice of having a college degree does not carry the same weight that having a college degree used to have. And it could be for a multiple of reasons, but the fact of the matter is the advice that most people's parents gave them gave most people results. So average advice got you average results, as opposed to like the high expectations, like, oh my god, it's going to change your life and blah da da da. Like, and so when I look at the traditional finance market and I see people like be like, oh yeah, you should invest in the S&P 500 and you'll get an 8% return, or like go buy bonds, do the safe stuff, or blah blah blah. I just see this, like, I apply this principle of like, oh, most people advice is going to get you most people results, and most people are going to fucking suck. And it's just like, I don't want to be a part of that most people group. So I'm going to do the thing that basically nobody's doing, which is cryptocurrency.
That's
And nobody does
definitely one way to
crypto.
put it.
Yeah, until the green candles start coming, and then everyone does crypto. And then it's everyone putting their money into the crypto that makes it possible for the guys like us who were in it earlier to basically retire on their silly dumb money that they're coming in with now. And it's just like, well, you know, everything's a greater fool Ponzi. Everything's like, oh, you buy it early, you hold it later, and then somebody else buys it from you because they want it when it's at the price that they want to buy it at, and it's the price that you want to sell it at. So like, it's just a faster gambling system. So that's how I would use crypto to retire, is basically just taking advantage of the fact that it's the fastest moving asset class in, I don't know if history is fair to say. I would say it is, just because we live in the
History
digital
it
age.
is.
And yeah, it's like there's
Wait
been
till
nothing
AI,
that's been
though.
able to move this quick. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
We'll see.
AI is going to be the next step of this, but Will, I got to say, you brought up a really convenient point there, which is that the idea that the average college degree has become a bit of a paperweight. And Aaron Clary is one of the people that will scream this from the high heavens till he's blue in the face. He will say that there's a few degrees that are worthwhile, and they're only the ones that deal with something mathematically based or have some sort of mathematical rigor to them. Think like hard sciences, engineering, accounting, not like business or an entrepreneurship degree, which he laughs in the face of, but something that actually is boring, hard, and those two things make it worthwhile. Those are the reasons you'll get paid big bucks, in his opinion, is because you're willing to do the things that other people are unwilling to do, and it's hard. So
Yes.
there you go. I will say this much. As far as cryptocurrency and the retirement thing goes, this is kind of a general principle that I try to apply with my strategy, which is, I'm young, well, ish compared to Sam. He could probably call me a boomer. I'm 29. But that means that in my point in life, I need to be more risk seeking. I have the ability to bounce back from losses if they should happen. But also at the same time, like the Alex Hormozi $100 million offers, this is the time where you can hit that home run that's worth 1,000 points. You have the ability to have those what's the word, the unbalanced return for your risk. And I think cryptocurrency is one of the ways to do that, and in line with a lot of the other financial wisdom that we've kind of examined through the book club, which is that if you can figure out one thing, go in on it. Diversification is great if you don't know what you're doing, but if you know what you're doing, there's no reason to diversify. We are doing a ton of research here. We try to talk as much as we can. That's why we talk to each other as much as we try to talk to an audience, because we think that we can all bounce ideas off each other, not just us, but also the audience. We have learned so much from the people that come on here. Like, shoot, every time I talk to Access or get a chance to talk to him on stream or off stream, I feel like I learned something new. The other day when we had that stream on Wednesday, he showed me the chart of Bitcoin versus the US dollar M1 money supply. That was like a light bulb moment for me. That was oh, now I can really see and explain and show people why cryptocurrency compared to fiat currency is a decent hedge for value and also growth. That's one of those tools where it's like, I saw it, can't unsee it, love it. But yeah, cryptocurrency, in my opinion, is a way to get the snowball going. That snowball is the thing that you're hoping to retire on. It doesn't have to be in a 401k account, but it just does have to exist. Speaking of which, we have one of our favorite viewers in the chat, Tam Tam. Great to see you this evening. We hope you are doing well. So, gentlemen, any and Mrs. Producer, any thoughts on cryptocurrency fitting into the retirement portfolio? Quattro
Yes,
Cinco?
the perfect place, the perfect thing you're going to want to do as far as like retirement goes with cryptocurrencies are going to be stables. Think about it. So, I mean, it's technically like, hey, you got dollars, right? And then you put it into the stock market and then you get what, like 3% on your returns? Like yield? Okay, cool. Whatever, bro. But what happens if you do like stable pools and you're averaging around a whole bunch of different pools, kind of right around 10 to 20%?
Yep.
Not bad. Not bad.
And then we also potentially got Bryberry and the Two Fucks protocol that our friend Fast Abdul and Yellow Cake are coming out with that might allow you to possibly even get even a higher yield on your stables. But that's all theoretical. It's all just like moon math and hopes and dreams and stuff. But their system is definitely quite interesting. You guys should watch our deep dive on it if you ever have the chance. My little plug there for them.
By the way, shout out to the Quattro Cinco tattoo there. The crypto, this is something we talk about a lot as well, which is that 99% of cryptocurrencies are shitcoins and have a very, very high likelihood and deserve to go to zero. We try to focus on the blue chips as much as we possibly can. That's right. All the Hexskins out there, there's a reason that we like this one a lot. It's because it is one of the few things that has an excellent use case and actually tries to teach you long-lasting values, aka delaying gratification. So I know we have our ups and downs, and right now it feels like we're in a bit of a moment of turmoil. However, at the same time, I do feel like I've seen a lot of the Hexskin community coming together in this moment, talking about E-hacks and P-hacks and all the Richard Hart stuff. But it's understanding that this is these are rough times, but we're going to hold through it, and we're going to be better as a result of it. Things are only going up from here. We might not understand the 4D chess going on, but if you will be rewarded for the good decisions. So keep on keeping on, everybody. That's what we got for that. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Nope.
It's a good idea to wrap it up. That's all I have to say.
Yes, sir. We will do that. Speaking of which, Sam, why don't you start us out? Give us where the people can find you, and then also where this book falls for you in the sorting hat of rankings and recommendations.
I definitely think it's a good read. I think people should read all of the books that Aaron Clarey has written. They all follow a pretty general theme, and they're a great baseline. If you are just getting on the journey of trying to fix your wealth, fix your money, you should read it. People can find me at thesam.pls.fyi if you want a general starting place. You can follow me on Instagram at samuel.d.stevenson, or you can check out my school server where I basically have a bunch of courses and classes and community and stuff where I just give out a bunch of information about building houses. My goal is to get a bunch of people out there educated and understanding what goes into home construction so that one, they can either build something, or two, they can understand who's building something for them. Like everybody here lives in a house. Somebody built it. You ought to know what it's going to be like. You're probably going to have to maintain it. You should just know something about it. So check it out. It's all free. www.skool.com/BFB success. I'll drop a link in the thing unless my brother gets to it first. But either way, that's where you can find me. Go get it.
Love it. Thanks for coming on, brother. All right, we're gonna pass it over to Will. Can you give us the Will Stevenson book review and then do your links thing?
Yeah, so my book review, the book's good as a foundational like set of information for people who don't know anything. I would like to think that our audience knows quite a bit of some things. And if you guys don't, then check this book out. And hell, even if you do know a whole bunch of some things, check this book out just so that way it can re-solidify all those important facts and features about retirement and just the mindsets that need honing, sharpening, and reminding. You guys can find me at linktree/Will Stevenson. I will go ahead and drop that link in the chat. Sam, oh, there we go. Sam's got the chat. Excellent. You guys can find me at linktree/Will Stevenson. You can also find the Telegram for this book club at the little description that is right underneath my little name thing here when it comes. Yeah, t.me/DGen book club. That is our Telegram. That's where you guys can go to see our anthology of everything that we have created, as far as like the books that we have reviewed, the future books that we're thinking about. You guys can write little suggestions. I've made an announcements page. I've made like a general chat. I've made chats for each single one of the books that we've covered. So if you guys want to talk about all your ideas about like or your thoughts on each book, like we can this book club doesn't have to stay discussed right here on stream. We can take the discussion over into the Telegram chats and we can do some talking over there. So I am typing it out to drop in the chat right now. It's really difficult to to type and because I didn't have that copy pasted or anything. It's really difficult to talk and type at the same time, but I figured it out.
Well done.
Other than that, you guys can find all of us over at the DGen Roundtable community chat, which is bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable. You can either click that QR code right there, or you can do the camera thing. I don't know how to yeah, you just do the camera thing, right? Or you can go up to your uniform resource locator up at the top of your web page, and in the URL you can type in bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable, and that will take you right over to our community chat. Or you can click the link in the description below. That's where you can find all of our socials, except for Sam. I think we might we've already linked those in the scrolling chats, but yeah, that's what's going on. Next week, I believe, is my book club, if I am not mistaken. And then you've got the following week, right, Zenith?
Yes, sir.
So-
that is the game plan. Do you have a book picked out?
Yes. So we're going to be covering Sci-Vive Chapter 1 for next week. And I'm like, basically, you guys can count on every single book club that I'm doing to be a Sci-Vive bit until we cover the entire Sci-Vive book. So the way that Zenith and I work it out right now is Zenith gets 1 week, then I get 1 week. If at any point in time the other book club panelists wish to do books of their own and host their own thing, then like we will adjust as our course as necessary. But that's the tentative plan as of right now. So next week you guys can look forward to Chapter 1 of Sci-Vive. It's super easy to listen to. Wild SJ did a fantastic job reading. There's also the PDF. You guys can go to t.me/SCIVIVE Sci-Vive, Life Through Science. But yeah, that's what we're going to be covering next week. And then also I'm going to be hosting this Sunday's DGen Roundtable, and we're going to be interviewing Zenith, Nate, and I are going to be interviewing the fellows over at the DGen Protocol. No affiliation whatsoever, but those guys are some cool as fuck bros. You got Crypto Black Sheep, you got Dev Donnie D. I think that Yeti's over there. I'm pretty sure. I'm not exactly sure who from their team is going to be joining us on the panel. I'm pretty sure that it's at least going to be Crypto Black Sheep, and also Donnie Dev, or Dev Donnie. But you guys can check them out. They stream every single day at 4:20 Pacific Standard Time. So that's 6:20 Central or 7:20 Eastern. And they stream every single day for about 20 minutes or so over on Crypto Black Sheep's channel. So go check out their Telegram. Those guys are fucking awesome. They've made some really cool products. So you guys are going to get to if you tune in for our Sunday show, you're going to get to hear a little bit about their NFT projects, about their goat feeder, about their upcoming Titan X fork that they're making for Pulse Chain that's going to be called the Goat X. Oh, it's so fantastic. Everything that they're doing over there. They give away lottery tickets on their stream. It's all sorts of it's super fun, man. Those DGen guys are fucking great, and I'm super excited for this collaboration that we're going to do with them. But yeah, that's what's going on for me, for everything. Join the channel, like, share, subscribe, bitch, moan, complain, do all that great stuff. and ascend in life. Who's next on the chopping block? Is it Mrs.
We're going to
Spaghetti
pass it
or-
over to Mrs. Producer. Do you have anything you would like to
Yes.
plug?
Nope. Other than I do have a Facebook account now, so I'll probably put that in the description at some point, but it's not there yet. So that happened. I'm going to use it for anything DJ Roundtable. I haven't really started with it yet, so not too much really exciting there. Other than that, I wanted to say this book, for me, definitely worth a read. I didn't see anything fantastically like new necessarily. Like Will said, I think we're all kind of smart enough to have pretty much figured most of the stuff in this particular manuscript out already, and our audience is probably in the same boat. Hopefully, if you're not, get in the Telegram, get in a consultation with one of these guys, figure it out, because get up there, get into this crypto before it's too late. And that was the other last thing I wanted to add, that crypto is the retirement plan for us. That's about it. We don't really have anything outside of it. I don't think we're going to need anything outside of it either. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Love to hear it. All right, Mr. Co-host, what you got? What's your review of the book, and where can the people find you?
Yeah, the waifu is 100% correct. I've delved deep into crypto to the point where I can go ahead and say, yes, this is actually the retirement plan, and it's not as risky as you might think it would be. Because hey, I've learned how to kind of dodge and weave, if so to say, right? So yeah, it's definitely my retirement plan. I can help you out. I am doing consultations as of currently. It's just about every single day at this point. I got another one for early morning Sundays just popped up. And yeah, guys, if you are starting to fall behind here, you do not want the rocket to blast off without you on board. Even if you're onboarding up to the top, at least you're on the rocket, right? So I can help you out with that. What you're looking for is more so kind of like still cheap type of coins. But yeah, just go ahead, hit up my link tree, and then you can go ahead and find me on Telegram there. And yeah, just hit me up and we'll get moving on it. Z, take us out.
I will for sure. So, very, very small nitpick, but there's a weird font in this book. So for as short as it is, it's a little hard to read in my opinion on that. But at the same time, the audiobook is 2 hours and like 5 minutes. So I definitely recommend that, especially considering you can pick it up on Audible for like $4 and some change. One of the reasons that I picked Aaron Clarey for book club was specifically because I think he is from legitimate professionalism when it comes to being an economist, being in the corporate world for so long. However, at the same time, he provides an alternate option or path or view for people who might be a little disillusioned or disenfranchised with what's going on in the world today. So I think that this is an excellent view into what the standard retirement plan is and why or why not it may work for you. And at the same time, it gives you an alternate plan to work out for yourself. It's one of those things. It's like, if you like this, take the advice. If you don't, chances are you might be able to ignore it and work out some other way to do things yourself. So as far as the book goes, yeah, I'd say it's worth your time. I'd say it's definitely worth your money. And it's definitely a good way to open up your like financial horizons and think outside the box. This is one of the people that does that and has found his own way to live. If that is your way to live, then give him a look. He puts out a lot of content that I find interesting. However, fair warning, it is very blunt and it can be sometimes very depressing, as this book did teach us tonight. Anyways, that is what I got for the review. I like it. Check it out. I posted my link tree in the description down below. You can find me on all the socials at ZenithDI or the Hexaco Space Force meme channel to catch up on your crypto news and crypto memes and have a good laugh. As far as what Nate said, he is entirely correct. Charlie had a good meme on his stream earlier, which was people waiting for that 15K Bitcoin, and it was watching them watching a boat sail away. So the market's going to get pretty wild here pretty soon. And the halving, we're possibly 30 days away from a halving. This is the time where it really takes off. So be aware of what's going on. If you want to keep up on all the latest news and info, keep watching us. We're going to keep trying to put out as much info as we can, not just on stream, but also in the Telegram chat. So get in there, join the QR code, and we look forward to chatting with you, answering any questions that you have, and hearing your thoughts about what's going on with crypto or just books in general. Again, as Jay likes to say, we know that time is your most valuable asset, so we greatly appreciate you spending it with us. Until next time, folks, remember to degen responsibly.